Hey everybody, welcome to Bitcoin Talk Show. Today is Wednesday, July 16th, 2014, and we are live this 3:30 p.m. on the East Coast. Joining me is David Gilson, is a freelance journalist. Hey David.
Hi Derek, good to be here.
We also got Mad Potcoins on the line for the first time and on video. Thanks for being here, Mad Potcoins.
Hey, having a great day.
Cool. We also got Thomas Hunt of Mad Bitcoins and many other shows on the World Crypto Network. What's going on, Thomas?
How's it going, Derek?
It's amazing. It's one of those special weeks in Bitcoin. We got lots to talk about. We got Weird Al in pop culture referencing Dogecoin. That's exciting. Plus, I did a bit of a fundraiser in Bitcoin recently, and that's been going well. So we'll be talking about that. Plus, what's in the top of the news? David, you were telling me before the show got started that something was at the top of CoinDesk that you were a little bit concerned about maybe mining pools taking over. Is that something we can be concerned about? It's something
Well,
I'm concerned about.
Yeah, well, Ghash, which was in the news recently for being dangerously close to the 51% mark, if not going over, they've been at the Bitcoin Mining Summit and saying they will commit to a 40% hash rate cap, which is great in principle because the words on everyone's lips in cryptocurrency is 51% attack. You've got to protect the integrity of the blockchain, no more double spending. However, I just wonder how much of a help this really is, because if two or more mining pools conspired together, they could surely insert fraudulent transactions into the blockchain anyway. So does this really mean anything?
Yeah, would any cap really be effective as long as these companies can collude with one another? The cap is meaningless.
Yeah,
Also, it makes no sense from a capitalist perspective. How can this company compete? If they've already reached 40%, what can they do? They're obviously the best mining company. What about the competition aspects?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a little bit uncomfortable for me. Like, I like capitalism. I would want them to succeed and be the most successful hashing company. But what's the problem with that? Are people afraid they're gonna somehow take over the Bitcoin network? Like, why couldn't they have 80% of the hash rate? Why would that be a bad thing?
It's the whole idea of cryptocurrencies is that it's a trust no one system, and that's why we can trust it. But the more past 51% any one group has, the more we have to trust them and trust that they're doing the right things. Now, it seems to be common sense that doing the right thing, being honest, is in actually everyone's best interests. So it's kind of well, you've got a gun to my head and I've got a gun to your head, so we're not going to shoot each other. But if someone had different aims or objectives, that equation falls apart. I mean, there are other currencies. I think Verycoin are doing something to do with like advanced checkpointing. I don't know if something like that would help in Bitcoin. It'd be good if we could get a technical person to call in and tell us if Bitcoin should adopt any technology like that.
I think the checkpointing was a way to link to their blockchain and to go back if they had a problem. I think that 51% attack for Bitcoin is going to be so expensive that only another country or PayPal could do it at this point. There's only China, US, PayPal, basically, that could afford it. And even then, what a waste of money. They should just mine with the miners instead. The 51% attack will be discovered. The flaw will be fixed. We've got to stop thinking like Bitcoin's all frozen in stone, like it's software. They're going to improve it, so they're going to solve around this. Everyone's all worried about this in the short term because it sounds like a great media story. 51%, it's like a company. If you get 51%, you control it all. And that's not true at all. 51% just means you can start your own blockchain, you can have a couple of double spends, you can buy some nice cars or something, and then in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, we'll figure it out, we'll get some good software guys on it, and we'll fix the problem. Bitcoin will go on.
Well, yeah, and it went on after, like, the Willy trading bot on Mt. Gox. However, there's still a lot of harm being done by that. There's still a lot of people who have lost money. There's still class action suits going on. So it's not like something, sure, sooner or later someone will see it and say, hey, wait a minute, why I yada. But there's still people going to be going for a long time trying to get their money back afterwards.
Hey, speaking of people trying to get their money back, I've been seeing on Facebook a bunch of my Bitcoin friends posting letters from Mt. Gox or from the, I guess, Japanese government or whoever that is. Have any of you on the show gotten a letter from Mt. Gox?
I got one. I haven't opened it yet. I forgot where I put it. But,
Oh, open it on the show.
let me see if I can find it.
Show us all your private information.
Yeah, that's so great. It was I've heard it cost them $85,000 to send out these letters that
Money well spent.
So let's see.
Sorry, it's a brief change of topic. I mean, I would like to continue with the the attack talk.
Yeah. So while he's looking for those, I guess I might not have the best understanding of the 51% attack. So I thought that at 51% it was possible to fork the chain. However, extremely unlikely. Like, you'd really need closer to 65% to actually be doing it. Now that's just my understanding of it, and the reason why I don't think anyone will do that is because it would destroy the Bitcoin. It would make people lose faith in it. If people lose faith, it loses value, and then everything you've put into forking the chain would basically just be lost.
Yeah, but Mad Potcoins, like, is it that hard to imagine a group of people who have vested interest in spending as much of other people's money as possible to destroy a competing currency with their own? Like, say, the U.S. dollar, the federal government?
Sure, I don't see the U.S. government as being competent enough to pull that off.
All right. Well,
because if they did, it would probably take them like 40 years and cost 10 times that amount just lost in bureaucracy. So I'm really not worried about them doing it.
They're competent at evil, and so I believe they could achieve.
This was an early fear. In the early days of Bitcoin, when Bitcoin was less expensive, yes, a government or even a small company could buy enough hardware to take over Bitcoin for a day or an hour, maybe 15 minutes, right? And now it's just not possible. Only the largest governments, only the largest corporations. And again, they would be against their own interests. They would have set up incredible mining hardware, and they would be making tons of money from the mining hardware. And whatever their problem is, they could probably solve with the tons of money they'd be making from the mining hardware.
But what if they don't want the money? What if they just want to destroy the coin?
Well, again,
now you're talking about something completely different. Because at first you were saying this was based on greed. Greed is about money. And now if you're saying, well, they don't want the money, well, then why would they do it?
They could still use a 51% attack to destroy the coin so that people don't have the option to use Bitcoin. Although I think that would be a short-sighted attack because people could just switch over to any other cryptocurrency and then they'd have the same problem on their hands, right?
Right. I mean, there's so many altcoins out there right now. Even if Bitcoin turns out to be like MySpace and Facebook takes it over, I mean, we have plenty of other options. It's not all just going to fall apart instantly. I don't believe that will ever be possible.
Well, and this brings up a good point of technical solutions. Let's look at the recent Verycoin hack. Mint Powell was hacked, right? They made some kind of mistake. They had 8 million Verycoins, which is, I don't know, $4 million. It's some kind of significant amount of real money. And they had that in a hot wallet. So remember, a hot wallet is any wallet where the keys are touching the internet. Any wallet where the keys are touching the internet is a hot wallet. And they had way too much money in their hot wallet. So someone hacked it, and they took the money. Then what the Verycoin developers did, this is very questionable. We're going to have to talk about this a lot. They changed the blockchain and reset it so that the hacked money went back to the original exchange. What do you guys think about that?
How did they do that?
They forked the blockchain, so they went back in time, like to a checkpoint, and they basically said that there was only about $4,000 of normal Verycoin or 4,000 Verycoin activity in that time, and that those people would just kind of be screwed, and that everyone else that because this amount of money that was stolen was 30% of their coin, they just decided that this was worth it, and that all the miners had to agree to change to update their software to use the new blockchain, and yeah, they rolled it back, the entire thing.
That's awesome. I mean, I would be upset if I were one of the, people who was doing business in Verycoin during that time that they just.
What if you were the hacker? Think about the hacker.
Well, if I was the hacker, I'd be very upset that they stole the money back. But that's sort of a brilliant solution. I've never heard of that anywhere else. Has any other coin done that? Like, can Bitcoin just go back in time and fix the Silk Road?
That's what I speculated, and that's what now we don't know. Now it's a very questionable precedent, and also there's much more transactions in Bitcoin. There's less transactions in Verycoin. Plus, I think that it's a proof of stake network. So if you had 30% of it, you could pretty much take over Verycoin, like we were talking about with the 51% attack. On a much smaller coin like Verycoin, you can 51% attack it. It's back on the board. With a larger coin like Bitcoin, it doesn't make economic sense, and the miners are way too big. But with a smaller coin, I'd say it's on the board.
Cool. Hey, you can share your thoughts. Call into the show via Skype. Our address is BitcoinTalkShow. You can also dial in from your rotary phone with 708-23 coins. We're joined by David Gilson, Mad Potcoins, and Mad Bitcoins. So, yeah, I like, first of all, that Ghash is, and they're putting out like an act of good faith. It's not a real solution to limit themselves to 40%, but it's something. It's something in the right direction to be like, we're trying to limit ourselves. I just wonder what's the next biggest mining pool, and what's their reaction going to be?
So the next biggest mining pool is Discus Fish, which is some shady, private, secret, supposedly Chinese mining pool.
Oh, can't trust the Chinese. Why is that shady?
I have no idea how to even figure out what they're doing. They're so secretive.
They speak another language. Be afraid. I mean, like, what? Why are they secretive? What do you mean? Discus Fish. I'm going to look them up now.
Yeah, they're 17% of the net hash rate or something like that. Close to it.
Who are they?
I tried to look up who they are, and I could not find anything.
Okay, but with Ghash, is that just... I'm an idiot here, but like, can people buy into their mining equipment, like rent it, like with other companies, where you rent the mining equipment, then you get some of the profit that's produced from it, or is it just one company that's like, we've got a bunch of equipment that we're putting to use mining for ourselves, and that's our business model? Like, what is their business model?
So I'm not that familiar with Ghash. I assumed it was a regular pool that people with equipment could mine to it, or people cloud hashing could just sign up with it.
Yeah, it's a mining pool, and it's known for not charging fees to the miners. So it's able to beat the other mining pools like BTC Guild that charge fees.
Okay. Well, what's the benefit of BTC Guild? I mean, why would I pay fees if there was another company that doesn't? Oh, because they're limited to their size? They're limited to 40% of the hash rate? So
now they are. Now you couldn't join this group, presumably. I don't know how they're handling it. If they're
maybe they should. Maybe, you were talking about the capitalistic problem of them like not expanding, Thomas. Well, why don't they just start charging like to the rate where it limits their hash rate to 40% anyway? Like, they could just start charging fees for the people who want to use them.
Well, more importantly, I thought if they were so superior, why can't they split into multiple companies or multiple mining pools, multiple Ghashes fighting this out? I mean, I know there's an economic. Someone's going to have to do the math for us, but there's an advantage to being in a pool that's successful. If your pool is getting blocks, you're getting rewards for your Bitcoin, so you're getting a better share for your mining time, right?
Yeah.
I get that, right? So there's a reason to be like, once once Ghash gets rolling, people are like, hey, they're getting all the shares. If your pool's not getting a share, you know.
Who here is mining or has done mining in the past?
Who's lost money because they're stupid? Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's bought equipment that now is heating their house? Yeah. Like the mining nightmare. So.
Hey, I'm getting a call from my grandmother. This is too important. I got to take this. I'll be back. Hang on, guys.
I thought for a second he was going to put his grandmother on the air, but instead we're just going to keep rolling with this. Now, Hubert, Mad Podcoins, you bring up a great point about this discus fish, and let me go ahead and confirm to you that the best.
Oh yeah, that would have been awesome.
Yeah, the best of our guys are the people working at Reddit, of course, and what Reddit says is that out of nowhere, this completely unknown discus fish is currently at 14%. They're having very small blocks, which he says is antisocial behavior because they can slow down confirmation time and drive fee increases. They're the third largest pool now, and that 48K blocks is ridiculous. No one knows anything about it at all. Someone suggested it's a Chinese food, or a Chinese dude, excuse me. But no, so yeah, we don't know anything about this discus fish. I seem to recall the name coming up in like Hitchhiker's Guide or something. So there is definitely a discus fish. There's a picture of it. Mad Pod, any ideas about what this could be or what's going on? Like just.
So like I said, I've looked into it, and what you just brought up is as much information as I was trying to find out. No one really knows who it is. They suspect that it's Chinese. Other than that, I have no idea.
My gut feeling from having heard just that, because I've just done some reading up, and then you Tom have just added to what I knew. It almost sounds like it's someone doing some research on how to mess with Bitcoin, with putting all these small blocks out. But maybe that's just me being highly suspicious. But the thing is, when it is shady, they're asking for suspicion.
Well, and maybe we need to actually read more about the discus fish. Maybe this will explain this situation.
Point of pop culture trivia, I think you were thinking of the Babel fish in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is like the universal translator.
Well, let's see. There must be something more to this. Due to their distinctive shape and bright colors, discus are popular as freshwater aquarium fish, and their aquaculture in several countries in Asia is a major industry. They are sometimes referred to as the pompadour fish. That's very interesting. So yes, it's very true that discus fish, a strange and unknown exchange, has taken over now 17% of the hash rate. And
well, can we join them?
Can we find them? All we know right now is that our Bitcoin considers them a threat, and that's 86% upvoted, and make that 48 votes.
So the Chinese government has started its own mining pool to compete with Bitcoin. It's out to destroy it.
Well, it's too soon to say that it could be the Chinese government. I think that's a little conspiracy theorist. It's more likely it's just some investment company that's most likely producing all this super cheap hardware.
You think it's some investment company?
I think it's a hardware manufacturer, and they're selling half of the stuff they're producing, and they're probably using the other half. That would be my guess.
I see. So before I had to go, I was asking who has mined Mad Podcoins. Have you mined Bitcoin?
Yes, I am currently mining Bitcoins.
Oh, okay. So you've got something at stake here. What pool do you use, if you don't mind disclosing that? And
yeah,
how
no
did you?
So I'm on one of the smallest pools, Bitminter. It's currently at 1% of the net hash rate, and I've noticed over the past couple weeks they've kind of been sucking on finding blocks.
Really? Oh, wow.
Before they were finding, maybe 2 or 3 a day, and now it's 1 every day or every other day.
How did you decide on Bitminter? Was it just ease of use? I mean, I used them before. I found them to be very easy to use.
So the first pool I started on was Eligulus, which I just liked since he's the patron saint of miners and metalworkers. So I thought that was pretty fitting. They're doing all right. But I didn't like their Namecoin payout system, whereas Bitminter just has better stats for seeing Namecoin along with Bitcoin. So I
So
am
you're
mining
doing
both.
the dual mining thing?
Right, merged mining.
And how effective is that? Like, how many name coins do you generate per Bitcoin?
So when it finds a Bitcoin block, chances are it'll find the next Namecoin block within a minute, but sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes it finds more Namecoin blocks than Bitcoin blocks because other pools that are not merged mining are just letting those go. So it's kind of picking up the pieces that people are letting fall.
Have
So
you ever
right now, the
purchased?
block reward for Namecoin is 50 coins per block. And yeah, so I get exactly twice as much per block of name coins as I do per Bitcoin.
Have you ever registered a domain name with Namecoin?
I have not, but I might consider it in the future if I ever learn how to do any of that stuff.
Oh man, it's not tough. It's one of the only things. I think it's the only thing you can do with Namecoin, right? Is register domain names with it. That's its whole purpose. So, might as well use it. I think you can get something like 7 domains a coin.
So I've surfed a couple of .bit sites when YowBit came out, which is
Yeah.
a plugin for your browser. So
Yes.
I checked out a couple of them. I guess there's not a whole lot going on at the moment, or not yet, with Namecoin, but it seems like they're growing every day still.
I don't know. I've lost interest in Namecoin because no one uses .bit domains, and I think you can do what Namecoin tries to achieve with any of the 2.0 coins. Like, wouldn't you be able to do that with like Ethereum or something? You can register domains with Ethereum, right?
I'm not sure about that. If you can, that would be pretty awesome for them.
I don't see why not. It's just one of the services that you would want to include. Anyway, I'm not sure. I've never done it, but I've used Namecoin to do it, and it's very easy. I don't see why another coin wouldn't be able to do the same thing though. Without all the extra software, like you said, you have to use Meowbit or you have to use some other software to go to .bit domains. Make that a little easier. That's kind of a pain. Did anyone go to a .bit domain before? Anyone use Namecoin for anything in real life?
Hello.
Oh, hey, Chris, you joined us. What's up, Chris?
Yeah, YouTube was down earlier, so I couldn't do my show, but now I realise it's back up. So I have registered .bit domains, and I did it through the actual Namecoin client on OS 10. It was
Yes.
pretty simple and straightforward. Yeah, I haven't actually used them for anything, but yeah, I have used it. I was a big fan of Namecoin, but their forum is very quiet. The developers don't tend to talk very much. There was kind of a lack of energy, and Ethereum are planning on doing something similar to Namecoin, actually something much more ambitious than Namecoin, where even the internet traffic will go through Ethereum. But it's all very theoretical at this point, so I still think there's a little bit of a way to go. They kind of poke fun at Namecoin a little bit. They wear those T-shirts which actually say this is Namecoin in 5 lines of code or whatever. But yeah, let's see what happens to Ethereum actually when it comes out later this year.
Yeah, I'd rather, I don't want to make fun of Namecoin because they're a little behind or because Ethereum can one day theoretically replace what they're doing. They're already doing it, so they deserve some applause for that. But yeah, registering the .bit domains, one benefit I see is that it makes your website drone-proof, I like to call it. Like if the FedGov or any other agent wanted to take down a website, it wouldn't be too difficult. They'd call up the DNS people and just be like, oh, hey, Peace News Now or BitcoinTalkShow.com needs to get disconnected. And suddenly no one would be able to go to that website anymore, and that would be a real problem. So having a .bit domain mirror your website so that if suddenly your website disappears, people can still reach it at the BitcoinTalkShow.bit. That would be the ideal. I mean,
how would you suggest we deal with like a libel? Like if somebody had something up, like defaming you, for example, and there was no way of taking it down, how do you think society should handle that?
More speech. The answer to bad speech is more speech. So when people are libelous or slandering or saying things that are false on the internet, the answer is to present more information, more speech that is accurate and true.
There is a
Very
problem
good.
with that, though, in that the vast majority of people have got a very short attention span. The news cycle is very fast and fickle.
So,
Mud sticks.
Ah, but all publicity is good publicity.
Well, no, that is a point that you're bringing up. So I was saying that was a very good point that David was bringing up. People's attention spans are pretty short. People have an extreme lack of critical thinking skills. So usually, just the more sensational information, the bigger story, is what people believe, whether it's true or not. So libel is kind of a difficult thing. I guess the only thing that you can do is try to spread the truth to fight that.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I get it. What bleeds leads, but eventually the cream rises to the top. People see the truth. There are websites like Snopes and all that who do the investigative work and make it easier for those short attention span people to find the truth. And I'm not concerned about libel on the internet. It's 2014, and it's already easy enough to distinguish lies from truth.
The theoretical idea, .bit domains could have a reputation rating, kind of similar to like Amazon or eBay ratings, although that's subject to gaming as well.
What do you mean? What would the rating be about?
The veracity or reliability of the information on the site.
Oh, cool! I like that. Wow. Who would? Yeah, I guess. But yeah, that just seems like I would want to. If I were nefarious, if I were an evildoer, I would want to throw all my bitcoins at a website that was dishonest and be like, they're the ones that are true, right? You know, try and mislead people.
Yeah.
So,
Whatever we come up with is a way to exploit it.
yeah. Well, the challenge is finding.
Let's all give up.
No. The challenge is finding creative ways to get around those problems and make them as invulnerable as possible.
Yeah.
Who do have nefarious intentions. So, Chris, what was on your mind? Are you a miner, by the way? Are you mining Bitcoin? Or are you Feathercoin all the way?
I used to. Yeah, I used to mine Feathercoin as well, but the thing is that it just gets really hot here during the summer, and as a result, it's not really tenable. I used to do it in my office. When I had an office in London, it was all in. The price was all inclusive, right? So you got free electricity. So I just used to leave all the computers going on, you know, over the weekend and in the evenings and stuff. I mined quite a lot of Litecoin back in the day. And yeah, so that was kind of cool. What's on my mind? Well, what I was going to do the show on earlier, and let's only play with this if you feel that it's relevant to everyone,
Sure.
was this kind of chasm between engineers and marketers. That my observation that I made on Twitter, and I've made it before actually on your show, Derek, is that the most successful organizations throughout time are the ones where the engineers and the communications departments have a mutual respect for one another's professions. And I was looking at CJDNS. PyRebel on Twitter we'd been knocking around this idea that we could go on these world tours, that anyone could join the World Crypto Network and actually distribute Linux laptops with, you know, full Bitcoin nodes already pre-downloaded, right? So you'd end up with a Qt wallet that's already got all the nodes downloaded, even if you're a low bandwidth area. We'd give you memory sticks, we'd give you bitaddress.org on a memory stick, give you Tails, give you everything you need to be fully independent, right? Currency independent in your local area. And one of the things that PyRebel brought up was CJDNS. Have any of you heard of CJDNS?
No, what is that?
So it's basically a similar idea to Namecoin. It's basically a new way of distributing the information across the internet without relying on any points of centralization. So you can put all this software on your computer. At the moment, it runs on the current hardware that the internet runs on, which, by the way, is very centralized. There aren't that many backbones in the world. There's one going, I think, from London to America. There's another one that goes around the west coast of Africa, and then there's obviously the one that goes over to the east. But it's very, very centralized. And if one of these companies decides to pull out or decides to start charging extra, as is happening at the moment in the US with the reemergence of CISPA, we end up, you know, failing our net neutrality. So the idea was that anyone could become their own DNS node, and that you just run this software on a box. I think you can even run it on a router. You can actually gut the router and actually put this software, at least that's the ambition. and then you could run your own internet node. At the moment it runs on the current infrastructure, but eventually we could start building our own mesh networks, and then anyone could start.
I don't understand. Build your own DNS node. Sorry, I'm a little layman. Is that
so? When you go to an address like bbc.co.uk, you're obviously not going to the computer can't understand those words, so it has to translate it into an IP address.
So you've got the directory that translates the numbers to like of an IP address to a readable domain name. Okay.
That's right. And CJDNS, as I understand it, is an attempt to do an IPv6, which is the Internet Protocol version 6, so the larger numbers, that will be encrypted, and then anyone can start serving up that content and that information, so that you're not reliant on these ISPs and these big companies to do it all for us. Now, there is a reason why we do have to outsource a lot of these duties to big companies. It's because it's a very hard task from an engineering perspective. And so we do outsource it to corporations that have hiring structures, and they are able to get the best people onto the job. But a lot of this is being commoditized now. A lot of this can be automated away in code, which is what the developers at CJDNS have done. So when I was looking into this and doing research with the view to doing a show about, a call to action, getting people to actually volunteer to go on these tours to get, these towns and villages into Bitcoin and, self-sustaining local economies, one of the issues that came up is actually have to be quite technically adept. It's not as simple as just, airdropping this technology onto someone. They're going to need ongoing support. And as I was reading, let me just see if I can pull it up here. As I was reading the Reddit forum on what it says is the basics of CJDNS, this issue came up from a user called Listen Here Stupid. This should give you some indication of where this guy's coming from. Consider that the education necessary to use the network is a barrier of entry, and if you can't or won't educate yourself enough to use the network, perhaps it's not a huge loss to the CJDNS community. Now, this then sparks an argument where people talk about the idea that let's have this technology work for everyone, no matter what their aptitude. And this, I've come across this numerous occasions in companies that I've worked for before, mostly because I grew up and I learned to code from a very early age, and I understand it. And but because I didn't want to do it as a career, because essentially I decided that I didn't want to be a bricklayer, because that's all you are if you're not an architect. You just get told what to do by someone else. Yes, you can code, but you're not very powerful or in control. It's the people with the money that really have the control. What I ended up being shoehorned into was like a sales engineer, someone who was much better than a salesman, ordinarily speaking, but not quite, doing all of the code. And I think that it begs quite an important question of a lot of people, particularly within the Bitcoin space, who are actually more than just PR people. These are people who get it. They get the underlying philosophy. And yet, if you're not good enough for one of these jobs in the new economy, because a lot of the old jobs are never coming back, a lot of them have been automated away, and there are an increasing number of people going after a decreasing number of wage labor jobs. What's happening is that everyone's moving on to social media, and they're finding new professions there, and they just end up becoming essentially marketing people, and they're in the game of finding something valuable and then telling everyone else to find it valuable, even whether or not it necessarily benefits them. And so I was getting to thinking that really what we need are people that are able to inspire and educate people and actually change the definition of what we mean by marketing, because I think that marketing is really about leadership, and it's about going to someone and saying, look, I know this looks boring and dry from the outside, but a good start is half the way there, and that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to tell you why you need to find this important, but it's up to you whether or not you agree with me.
Wow. Okay. So I'm seeing, if I can summarize what your point, you want to help inspire people to view what you view as important as important, because you think it's in their best interest to learn about these technologies, or they'll be left behind. Am
That's right.
Fairly?
Yeah, that's right, because a lot of this technology is just being pushed onto people by a technorati elite, as I call them, like a technorati, who are really presenting this as a fait accompli. They're really displaying this as if, look, it's already been made up, guys. There was this whole kind of philosophy of language that took place in the 20th century when you guys were having all your wars. We did it at Bletchley Park. We kind of had this nailed. Like, we kind of decided that this is how information should be digested down into these bits of data. And there was a whole thing called the quantum revolution. You may remember something about E equals mc squared, even though that's not the full equation, and very few people even understand special relativity. And by the way, that basically makes all of your computers work. That's what makes the GPS system across the world. All that stuff that you take for granted, like the air that you breathe, that you don't even notice is there, all of that stuff relies on things that the technorati elite, know how to do. And what I'm worried about is that this so-called democracy of ours ends up diverting into a tyranny where you have one group of people exercising an enormous amount of power. I mean, let's face it, if you can't code in 5 years, you're not going to be in poverty. You're going to be dead. Because if you know how to print hello world in Python, then you'll be in poverty, right? Because you'll be just useful enough to do the grunt work. Like, you'll be good enough to like tidy up code or revise some of the comments or go on GitHub and actually, you know, police the forum to make sure it's not too high level. A number of GitHub, you know, threads where it says that's too high level, you need to take that to the forum or take that one back to Reddit, right? Because all we care about are the nitty gritty. All the developer really wants to know is like, what can I do right now? Don't give me all this kind of like, you know, really, really inspirational kind of high level stuff. Just tell me what I need to do right now. And really, it's about the same with banking. It's about bringing the long term and the short term together. That's what banking was supposed to be. It was about helping people take long term investments and turning them into short term returns so they could get their needs met today. I need to buy this house, but I can't, you know, work the next 20 years to pay for it right now, so give me some money that I can lend it against.
So tell me more about what you're doing, because you go to town councils and stuff in the UK and talk to them about how they can start to use alternative currencies like Feathercoin. Have you gone to other town councils to spread this, or is your idea sort of evolving where you mentioned dropping Linux machines with Bitcoin clients off like around the world? So what's your idea for on-the-ground helping people?
Well, it really came from the American trip I did with Tom, and a lot of people online were very, very kind, and they sent us lots of money, and we went off and we did our thing. And it occurred to me that if with a little bit more money, but not much, I could actually have a proper professional camera, an actual set of microphones that I could have done proper interviews. I had so many really interesting conversations. It was really frustrating that I just didn't have, you know, a decent camera and a microphone that I could have recorded some of those conversations. Now, yes, as you say, I already do talks in the UK. I have been to some local councils. I've also been to universities. I've been to offices. I did a talk at Lloyd's Banking Group the other day in a bank, and actually, you know, told them what they didn't want to hear, but what I felt that they needed to hear. And I'm happy to keep doing that. But I really want to step this up, and I've been talking to some Bitcoin companies, and I think, look, let's just get, you know, a load of these memory sticks. Let's put some basic software on. I've even found some really good password generators online that I went and spent last night going through a few of them.
Is that
so
one
like
of the
help people tool up? Say again?
Is that one of the Kanga Blues USBs that lock?
This is like a verbatim. It's just like a cheap verbatim, and I just loaded it up with a bunch of really useful tools for generating secure passwords that are easy to remember. It's got Armory on it. It's got the latest full node, the 24 gigabyte version of the blockchain. So you can pretty much drag and drop this, and it will work straight away.
Do you think it's important to use USBs that have some sort of locking mechanism for read only? So that
no,
you don't have...
I use I don't like that kind of technology because I'm quite distrustful of it. I only trust the technology where I can read the code myself, or at least give it to someone that I trust to do it. So I use whole disk encryption. I still use TrueCrypt 7.1a, although you know you may not want to because apparently it's not safe anymore. I don't think there's anything wrong with it personally. So I use whole disk encryption for anything.
Have you heard the update on the TrueCrypt thing?
That the audit's still going ahead, or?
Well, there was a message put out by the TrueCrypt people, and part of the message was strangely worded, and everyone kind of overlooked it. But now they've gone back to the message, and it appears to have the initials NSA.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. That's really good. We should pull that up actually.
I'll look for the story, but yeah, I don't remember the exact details, but it was there's something in the message that says NSA. So.
So the point here, Derek, is to give people on the ground everything they need to protect themselves in this kind of, like, I don't want to call it an information war. I don't want to overstate this, but I do see a lot of conflicts coming, because I'm seeing more and more divisions. I'm seeing a lot of factions and people going off into their own little niche communities. Look at all these altcoins, and look at the kind of us and them culture that comes out of it. And a lot of this just boils down to the fact that a lot of people just don't want to take responsibility for their own shit. They don't want to read the manual. They don't want to know how stuff works. And then they end up outsourcing all of that to other people. And that's got to stop. And all it really takes is somebody like me who's, I'm quite an energized speaker. I can usually get people going. If you get me in a room full of people, like I did at Hull, actually, and David's here on this call and he can talk about it, for a while, there were people in the room were really, really skeptical, because they had their worldview, and their worldview was fixed. And someone just came in to tell them that the whole thing, the party's over and we've got to move on now. Like, no, don't do this to me. But the fact is that nature itself is change. And all I'm saying is, look, this change is going to happen whether you like it or not. The question is how we get there. So if you put me in a room with a bunch of people and you give me, a laptop with Ubuntu or, some other distribution of Linux, and you give me a full node, and I can show them all the lightweight models, I can show them blockchain.info, I can give them the full thing, I reckon, in a day's workshop, then they've got everything they need to tell all their local people about it. And if we can get all these towns and villages, I'm not thinking cities, I'm thinking small villages, particularly the ones that have been ostracized by this globalization. Like, I was in Washington, D.C., but from certain angles, I could have been in London. Like, you've got all the same brand names, everything looks the same. And it was the same when I've been to Amsterdam and places like this. You've just got Starbucks, McDonald's, Pret a Manger. You've got all of these globalized brands, and they've all got their brand guidelines. They've got the corporate colors everywhere. I'm interested in going into villages, largely which have been, separated from everywhere else, and actually give them all the tools that they need. Set up their own local mesh network. Let them set up their own, full Bitcoin node. Let them support the network.
I would love to see video of you going to some of these villages, because I feel like, you've got great skills in this area, but then there are people all over the world who have these skills and could do this in their villages. But
right.
I need a model to see how this is done. Oh, hey, and it looks like Theo's joining us. Hey, Theo.
Hey, what's up? I have an idea.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so I really like what you guys are talking about education and teaching people and all that, and spreading the knowledge. And I think that what we need, and I like what we need to do is create a kind of manual that's really basic, like a PDF document, so that to help anyone have a small basic event, like an introduction to wallets and security. So it's like, I would call it a Bitcoin party. Yeah, so a Bitcoin party is where anyone can go that's interested in Bitcoin and learn, how do I get the wallet started, how do I do a peer-to-peer transaction, and how do I make it so my Bitcoins don't get stolen, like really, really basic stuff. And then you can also do it in a way that's not frontal. Like, it's like, okay, who already knows about wallets? Okay, go in this corner. And who is so like kind of like a decentral, and then you have to have people that are like a guide. I mean, you could call them Bitcoin angels or something else, and they're the guides. So you say, let's say that we're a group of 3 people, yeah? And I say, okay, I'm going to do introduction to like really basic, like no knowledge of Bitcoin. And I'm going to go over here in this corner, and everyone interested, you come to this part of the room where we're doing our event. And I'm going to do, and the other people are like, okay, I'm interested in cold storage. And then you go over to that corner. And then later you can go over to that corner. But just so that it's not like this, like really static atmosphere, what you get sometimes where there's like a beamer and everyone is sitting down like in a classroom and you just kind of look at the beamer. I mean, you need that for some stuff. But you can do it so where you can kind of like walk around and you can get to know people. And then this could, and then without making it too complicated, but I mean, theoretically, this could then go into building peer-to-peer communities where you don't have to use exchanges to exchange coins or altcoins or fiat to coins or whatever, and you could also exchange in person with someone your PGP key or your little code to know that I'm really talking to you in OTR chat or whatever. You know what I mean? And that you really have this in-person relationship. I mean, that's getting already into like just, encryption and stuff. But I think that like a little bit more relaxed event for just everybody, and that's gonna empower. That's gonna do all these things that all the other people are trying to do. That's gonna increase the price. That's gonna, increase the network. That's gonna make it more decentral and more healthy. The whole Bitcoin thing. If we get more people into it and we show them how powerful it is, and also like you guys were saying, show them how much responsibility they have to take for what they were doing. I know I just talked a lot, but that goes back to maybe you guys already talked about MintPal getting hacked, and a lot of people were really pissed off that MintPal got hacked. Yeah, but it's just like we've been over it so many times, if you have your coins on the exchange, there's a risk that they'll be gone. That's a risk, and the people that had Verycoin on the exchange were trading Verycoin, and that's fine, but you have to accept that that's part of the deal. The exchange could get shut down or it could get hacked, and oh shit. And then instead Verycoin decided now they're going to fork the whole coin because some coins got stolen. But anyway, I didn't mean to get off.
No, I love
but I
it.
think that, yeah.
You dropped some massive bombs there. So sorry, I cut off David. What were you about to say?
I was just going to say, I just wanted to add to that from an educational point of view, that I think the thing that a lot of people who are not technologically literate, a barrier that holds such people back, whether they are young or old, is being afraid of doing something wrong and breaking something. So they really need, and if you break something with a cryptocurrency wallet, you actually lose money, So what I think would be really good to go along with that is some sort of sandbox system for people to pretend, and it's to say, here, go in, follow these instructions, play around, but don't worry if you go wrong, because people are not good at self-motivated learning at the best of times, and when they are afraid of doing something wrong, that ends up stopping them starting.
Well, there's already a sandbox version of the blockchain.info wallet that people can try out and test a demo of. So I know we've all, if you've been in Bitcoin this long, you've set up wallets for other people, your friends, you've answered these questions about how to do P2P or how do I make sure my coins aren't stolen. So I want to know from each of you and your communities, like, are you a part of a Bitcoin community in person? Do you have real relationships with people in your area?
So let me start that one off real quick. I've been going to my local Denver Bitcoin meetup for the past 5 months, and every single time there's more people there. It just keeps growing.
Cool.
I've met a whole lot of interesting people. Just 2 days ago, I met Mike Donovan, who's going to be running for the governor of Colorado. And, I mean, that guy was a pretty impressive character. He's running a campaign with literally zero money. He's not accepting donations, and he's not spending anything out of his own pocket. He's literally doing it without money. And while he's not accepting Bitcoin because he's not accepting any currency, he still took the time to come out to our meetup, tell us how much he supports it, and just share some of his views. Every single time, it seems like, just networking, people get in contact with other people. All the time, people are pretty much promoting their businesses that are accepting Bitcoin. So at least in the Denver scene, the Bitcoin meetup is definitely where it's at.
Would you be interested or willing to do what Theo talked about, have a Bitcoin party where you become a Bitcoin angel or a guide for others?
Would I personally be interested in doing that? Yeah, absolutely. I am all about sharing any knowledge I have with anyone willing to hear it.
All right, cool. Hey, David, do you have a Bitcoin community where you are?
No, I don't. Although for the next few months, I'm staying in Nova Scotia, Canada, and I would love to get something going around here. I fully intend to start going out to local businesses. I'm staying in a small town called Lunenburg, and I want to go out and talk to local businesses, get the idea out to them, and I would love to start up an event. So if there is anyone watching this show either live or later on, please get in touch with me. So davidgilson.co.uk. Please get in touch, because if you're interested, I can start explaining stuff and show you how to do things.
Wow, very cool. Hey, Theo, you brought up the idea. Are you already a Bitcoin angel? Do you have a Bitcoin party? Have you done this?
No.
Okay.
Not exactly. I mean, basically, not in the organized or like. Basically, I'm stealing the idea from the crypto party. What I described is what goes on at something called a crypto party.
Oh,
and
tell us about that.
I was at. Yeah, well, it's exactly what I said, except instead about Bitcoin, it's about PGP, Tor, Rails, etc.
Cool.
And it's exactly so. I mean, you could do both, but I mean, that's kind of complicated, and sometimes it gets a little bit. You have to depending on how many people come, it can get. So what happened was in Germany after the
where rubber meets road. You know, crypto is not going to apply to everybody, but money does. So having a Bitcoin party.
Yeah, definitely. No, I think that's the way to do it and model it in that way, because it can work. And now so far, I mean, there's a user group here in my city, and we meet once a month. And I mean, we have a lot of people sometimes, and right now we don't have so many people that come, but it changes. And what happened is that a lot of people that were coming at the beginning are just really busy. You know, one guy opened an exchange in Vietnam, another guy is like, you know, doing really big projects. So it's kind of like we don't have a lot of this new these quote new people like we're talking about. So I mean, we printed like a bunch of flyers and we're trying to, you know, get people to come, but it's kind of geared more towards the user group is more. It's more geared to people that already know about it. I mean, if new people come, we always ask and we show them stuff, but I think some of the discussions are kind of on such a level it's kind of hard for new people to kind of get an entry sometimes, because they're, I don't know, I can't really explain it. It's just the discussions sometimes get a little bit advanced. But yeah, I was at a maker festival. Do you know what I mean? These like maker things, and I just had like a booth with a Bitcoin ATM, and I just talked to people the whole day, 2 days about Bitcoin the whole time. You could just come, and I had, you know, a little laptop with a wallet, and I just showed people, and I gave out paper wallets, and you could buy Bitcoin, or you could ask, you know, what the hell it was, and it was really a lot of work. I just talked the whole day for 2 days straight, basically. Just but it was really cool because it was just one-on-one most of the time. So whatever that person knew. I mean, some guy was like, "Oh yeah, my company's got all these like graphic cards. Can I use them to mine Bitcoin?" Or it was just people that wanted to find out.
Say?
I said, "Yeah. I mean, if they don't notice how much electricity you're using, you could probably do it." You know, I just told him, you know, how to download a miner, and you know, I don't know if he did it, but you know. I don't remember exactly what he had, but he had some. It's kind of was outdated equipment, you know what I mean? But they had a big, yeah. Anyway,
I can connect this. Like what Chris was talking about is almost on the same topic, right? Bringing, having a new definition for marketing by bringing these ideas to people in a friendly way. That's not like, it's not. Maybe it is marketing, but it's sort of different. It needs a different word.
Yeah, I agree. Well, see, the thing is,
it's leadership.
Yeah,
leadership. Yeah. Okay. So taking leadership, I like that.
Well, you're helping other people be leaders. You're not ruling over them. You're helping them become leaders.
Yeah.
Yeah. What
open source leadership.
Say again.
What is it?
Also,
open source leadership.
Oh, I like it. Yeah. Can I just show everyone the picture really quickly of the internet? Right. So this is how centralized the internet is. These are all the submarine cables, and obviously within the land itself, you've got the internal telecoms network. But often the internal telecoms network are run by oligopolies. So what CJDNS and other projects similar to Namecoin and Ethereum are proposing something as well. is that everybody becomes one of these master nodes you see at the junctions here and here and here in the UK, particularly in Canary Wharf. In London, UK has particularly fast bandwidth, and Leeds as well, where I was a few weeks ago. And I also want to say to our point earlier, this key here, your private key, should never touch a device with a networking connection, right? And if it does, you should think very, very carefully about the funds that you have in there, how long you intend to keep them there, and obviously that needs to be encrypted. These private keys, including any PGP private keys that you may have, were never intended to touch devices that were going to be on the internet all the time. That development came a lot later. And so I think that we now have to start thinking about creating air-gap security. That means actually having the private keys on a device that has intermittent or no internet connectivity, signing transactions on there, and then bringing the transaction onto the live computer. Because the number of devices in our world right now without networking capabilities is reducing, the same way that the number of devices in our world now without CPUs is also very, very small, and certainly a lot bigger than it was 5 or 6 years ago. And I also would recommend websites like this. If you think that you're good at coming up with a secure password, I highly recommend How Big Is Your Haystack. This guy really communicates very well what good password management is, where he'll actually show you the namespace that you are creating. If you are already one of these people that creates passwords like Manchester United or something stupid, or it's got your girlfriend's name or it's got a birthday in it, you need your first step, not if you're an advanced passworder, okay, if you're already good at generating passwords, don't bother coming here. But if you're already creating weak passwords, come to somewhere like XKCD Password Generator and just keep doing this. And like paste a whole row of them, okay, into a text box and rearrange them a few times until you come up with something that's quite memorable, because actually a password like this isn't that much less secure than a password like this. You see, you've got 100 million centuries for this one, 16 alphanumeric with symbol, 100 million centuries, and that's 1,000,000 trillion centuries, right? A lot more memorable. So I would just start people off like with these basics, with all the stories that we're hearing, with people losing coins like on Coinbase and stuff like this. Like, there are some things that I just think are not working over the internet. Like, yeah, sure, it's all great telling people about Bitcoin on Twitter, but it won't make a connection until you look someone in the eye and you actually say to their face and give them a way, like, let them be vulnerable, make it safe for them to ask questions they might otherwise be embarrassed to ask, and actually take it through their very context specific like problems that they may have. Like, I'm a shopkeeper and I don't particularly want to use these online merchant services. Well, no problem, to set them up with an Armory wallet and show them how to get it all going.
It sounds like what you're saying, Chris, is that there's a lot of people that don't have technological expertise or even enough technological knowledge to play safely on the internet today. And there's this need for these masses of people to get radically more informed than they are currently in a friendly, helpful way. Right?
Well, there's no way. There's no other way to say it. They're just going to have to learn, like that chap said, but without the emotion and the anger in that Reddit forum, where he's like, "You're just going to have to learn." It's like he wants to be quite elitist, right? He wants to have his own little private hideout up here. He wants to sit on the top of the castle and allow his knowledge to control and empower, empower over other people. What I want this to do is to help liberate people, because actually everyone is capable of understanding it. They just don't think they are. And a lot of this is just about putting a fire up someone's arse and actually making them go, look, you need to learn this, not just because the future is changing, but because it's really interesting and actually really exciting. It's just that you probably haven't had a good start to it yet. You probably haven't met someone face to face that can really get you energized about that. And it's only really when you meet someone and you listen to their story first, as someone who's going to teach them about this stuff, and say, well, where do you come from? And then help make Bitcoin relevant to them, and not just Bitcoin, but cryptography in general, because you'd be surprised that even the number of developers that use bad passwords, right? This is something that everyone can do with a lesson in the obvious sometimes.
Chris, have you considered taking these workshops into schools rather than adult arenas?
Well, the biggest problem at the moment is making this economically sustainable. Like, yeah, I can do it and I can keep doing it, but I've been doing this for a year now, and I ain't getting like any money for this. In fact, it's costing me money, and I
Right.
keep getting invited to do these things, but no one's ever got a budget. So, what Pi Rebel was suggesting, his real name's Nick. I'll call him Nick. He was saying, well, why don't you make a list of all the towns and villages that have good enough, just good enough internet access? So there are maps, there are heat maps that you can look at, and start with those first. There's no point in going to Africa. A lot of people say, well, let's get into Africa, but the problem is a lot of the infrastructure there just isn't ready yet. Like, the price of sending a transaction over the Bitcoin network is the price of a meal in certain parts of Kenya, which is actually a relatively rich country within Africa, right? So I still think that in those situations, I'm afraid that those centralized solutions are probably going to be winning. That's not to say that we can't try some things out if we have opportunities and someone from a local area there. We should definitely be trying anything out. But he was saying, why don't you prioritize the towns and the villages, and then actually have people send in money to, have a Bitcoin address for each town, okay, and have people donate money for you to come to that town, and anyone can donate, not just the people from that town. But then the actual voting mechanism becomes the monetization mechanism. You put them both together, which is similar to what Let's Talk Bitcoin did with when it was trying to get its guest podcasts on.
So, Chris, quick question. Instead of physically having to go to towns, have you thought about just producing videos, like educational videos, where anyone can see them anywhere?
Yeah, I mean, Les, this is what I'm saying, though. I want that physical connection, because I think that there's just a few things that you can't do on a video. I do recommend at the moment, I have a list of YouTube videos and Vimeo videos that I send people, like in an email as stock. These are the videos that I endorse in terms of like covering Bitcoin, the economics, covering the cryptographics, covering the computer science stuff. This is a full-bodied video that gives you everything that you need. But the problem is people do have questions. Reddit is not for everyone. Reddit is a really hostile place if you're a newbie to the internet. Bitcoin Talk Forum, forget it. I'm not even going to go there. And Twitter just doesn't have the discovery algorithms in place. Like, what you get from Twitter is very hit and miss, and there's only so much you can do in 140 characters.
What about the troll box? Can I get the truth from the troll box?
Well, now it's interesting, because actually the troll box is a very scary place, but sometimes I've seen people go on there, and even though they're all ripping each other off and they're all shilling for these coins, every now and again someone will go on there and say, oh, I can't get into my wallet, and someone will pipe up and actually help them out. That's a kind of weird outlier, the troll box. But yeah, obviously the troll box doesn't work for everyone. So what you need, when I go to a lot of these Bitcoin meetups, they vary in terms of the quality. If you go to a London Bitcoin meetup, I'm afraid to say you're mostly going to be surrounded by business people and marketing executives, or self-employed former marketing executives that were made redundant and now consultants. And yes, you might find the odd enthusiast and maybe the odd coder here and there, but you're not going to find too much in the way of tech enthusiasts that actually want to get down to the nitty-gritty. Mostly you're going to find people looking for business opportunities. And so what I realized, what is necessary is to come up with an open source template of like how to teach Bitcoin, and then get a group of someone said it earlier, the Bitcoin angels, right, to actually go on a mission, go on a pilgrimage around the world, and actually saying, look, why don't we start off this conversation with you telling me where you're already coming from? What have you heard about Bitcoin already? What does it mean to you? And what is important? What are the challenges that you're facing right here? And see how that technology can relate to them. Give them a Skyhook ATM. Give them, all of the tools that they need with these open source software. Like the CJDNS, we can definitely give that a try. But just giving them a Linux laptop to a lot of these places where they're used to using proprietary software could be a really big deal.
I just want to bring up, since you brought up Linux, Chris, this has been brought up in the past. You mentioned one of the things giving these people would be Linux. Something as simple as Tails Linux can fit on a 2 gigabyte USB drive that I'm holding right here, can fit on a little keychain, and then you can keep TrueCrypt on the other end, or all the programs that you need, so that Tails Linux, of course, forgets everything. So you might want to save it on the other end. So computer of the future right here, and very deliverable. You know, you could hand out a lot of.
Yeah, I love this idea of just airdropping this technology onto people, you know.
Well, one question I have, who's going to be their tech support? You know, if
Right,
someone
so-
airdrops something like this onto me and I don't know what to do with it, who do I call to figure out what to do?
So, my idea, and I haven't put this to Tom yet, but the idea is we'd do it on worldcryptonetwork.com, and we'd have a forum, because the name is perfect, the marketing's perfect, the people are perfect. Okay, we set up Get Satisfaction, which is it's a relatively cheap forum software that lets you handle, you know, tickets like complaints or customer services. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And then people can just come onto the forum. Maybe we could set up like a Skype thing. People can volunteer, and like I've just been thinking about this the whole time ever since Nick started putting the idea into my head. But I think what we should run it on is a not just for profit model, which means that we don't run explicitly for a profit, but we're not averse to making money either. So everyone should be given the opportunity to make money for their time and sacrifice that they give. And so everyone should have their own Bitcoin address. And that doesn't mean that we're explicitly here. We're not going to let every business activity be guided by money. That's what I'm saying. That is the problem I think that a lot of people have, you know, with big corporate businesses, is that every decision they make is imbued with the need to make money. They're either saving money, making money, or they're just pumping their awareness in the marketplace. What I'm saying is that we're doing this for backing the idea itself. This is about the philosophy, and the money is just an aside. Like, that comes with it if you think I've done a good job.
That sounds like a pretty good system, one based on merit. But so this is what I was thinking about as you were talking about the knowledge gap. I guess thinking of Bitcoin like learning to play chess. Let's say that you're an expert player. Sure, you would play with someone who's never played before. You'll show them the moves, but you're not going to have a lot of motivation to keep playing with that person unless they really want to learn themselves and get better themselves. So just like with learning to play chess, how do you get people interested in wanting to learn more on their own?
You got to have
for Bitcoin to learn.
No. You've got to just be a very. I can do it. I used to teach, and I used to be a lecturer, and I mean, I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but I'm good at inspiring people. I get a lot of very good reports. People say, wow, you really made me think the other day, or you really just said something that got me motivated and got me to move. I don't know how I do it. I just do it. It's what I've always been doing. It's not difficult for me to do it. And there are other people out there like me as well. And if you can get people like me to be able to go to these towns and villages, and like I say, not just be like, you know, marketers, and David can do it as well. Not just marketers and not just PR people. I'm fed up with being asked what I do, and then I end up having to default to something like PR, and it's like, God, that actually doesn't really encapsulate everything that I do, and it doesn't speak to my breadth of knowledge, and it doesn't tell you anything about, you know, the way I come across to people and the value that I think that they get from what I do for them. And actually, you know, give people the motivation, and actually what you're really looking for, okay, is you're not looking to educate every single person in that village so that they all become experts. You're looking for key people within that localized community that everyone there trusts. So the first thing I'd do is I'd say, right, who is the one person in this town that everyone goes to for support and advice? Who's the one person that does all the volunteering and gets everyone motivated and moving? And I'd actually start off with that person, because a lot of the problems that we face as a species at the moment is this idea of the globalized. It's this idea that we used to be in tribes of 150, where you never wanted to be too famous, but not, you know, not unfamous enough. And you'd always want this kind of localism. You'd want this kind of, you know, tribal mentality. But now we've got this very, very de-distanced world where we've constantly got access to the ambient sociality of everything that's going on thousands of miles away. It becomes very difficult to build out a lot of these business models at scale. So I'd be looking for somebody local, and I'd want to educate them first, and I want to inspire them to learn more about it first of all, but then they can actually relay a lot of the advice to other people. Look at the way the regulators are reacting to a lot of these Bitcoin businesses. What they want is fixity. They want an address, a door that they can knock on. That's what we all want. We all want somewhere we can go when things go wrong, and the internet just doesn't cut it. It doesn't have the right feeling, the right kind of ambience. I want to look someone in the eye and actually be there with them and have them go through things with me.
I think you can extend that too. I think it is possible to maybe do it over the internet, but it's more about the relationship you have with someone. It's that fixity comes even if there is someone you can do an instant message with, you can do a video chat with, or even just an email. I mean, I've experienced that with learning just the Linux command line. I had an old friend who I went to university with. He actually came out here to Canada. I reinitiated contact with him a few years ago, and he's what I call my Linux guru. If I ever had a problem, I would come to him. As the years have gone on, the time I've needed him has been less and less. And then I've been the Linux guru to other people.
I've got another idea. The idea is okay. I think that I think everything is really good. I like all the comments. I think that maybe we or somebody should make a really basic syllabus. Yeah, real basic outline, and maybe even like a syllabus. So then I could approach like a local community college or whatever and be like, okay, I just want to give a course in Bitcoin, you know, an official course just at the local one, you know, and that could be another entry point for some people. Maybe they would just sign up for that course, and it sounds kind of official or whatever if it's offered by, you know, kind of like a local institution. But you would need, but anyway, even for these like meetups or whatever you want to call them, the parties or whatever, it would be good to have this kind of a real basic outline, and it would also be so that it would be easy for other people to, when you leave, that they could present it again themselves in a relatively structured way. You know what I mean? Just a real basic lesson plan for, you can imagine, for like someone that's not from a teaching background per se, but that they could also do their own event later, and they could just basically follow the steps, and it would be really easy for them to put on their own event then.
So a thing like that already does exist. I've played around with it. I've looked at it. It's through Udemy, and it's called Bitcoin 101. It's a totally free thing, and it's basically just a bunch of video lectures and lessons. So there kind of is a syllabus, and it's intended for the beginner. Basically, that's what I told my mom to look up. So that's how my mom learned about Bitcoin.
Yeah, we can start with that. I mean, it should be an evolving thing, and it should be responsive to the feedback that we get on the ground. So I would recommend some kind of wiki situation, but drawing on what's already come before. I really like Scott Driscoll's How Bitcoin Works Under the Hood and his 5-minute introduction to Bitcoin, just because I've shown it to other people, and it's the one that I get the most positive feedback from. It's the one that I feel covers everything from the cryptography, the computer science, the philosophy, and the mathematics. It covers everything. So yeah, I think that all of these, we should already be building on top of these and actually be taking those to people and then getting their feedback, and what the feedback that we get, we should then start coming back to HQ, and we should then discuss how we, you know, this is what I found when I presented this video, it didn't come across too well, you know, this kind of thing, because a lot of people don't have the time to go through, or they don't think they have the time. So I think the Scott Driscoll 5-minute intro is the best one, because if they don't already know about Bitcoin, this tells them why they should care. Like, that's a really good way just to get the appetite up, so they want to learn more about it. For a lot of people, you know, they end up bookmarking this stuff and they don't come back to it for like 6 months to a year, and then they do come back to it when they finally get some headspace, and that's usually what happens. They usually get into it that way.
Okay, yeah, definitely. Okay, yeah, this Udemy thing looks pretty good actually so far. Just have to look at it in detail, but it could be a good starting point. Or we could, or like you said, a forum or a wiki thing. To kind of you know, have an ongoing thing that you can add to and be responsive. Yeah. So did you guys hear about the whole thing when with MintPal getting hacked?
Yeah, and I saw the response to the Verycoin hard fork, which I have to say I'm incredibly skeptical about. I think the idea that a few small programmers can just decide that, oh well, we're just going to put this checkpoint in the software so that £4,000 can now be sent back to the people. And I thought the whole point of the blockchain was that you didn't have central authorities. And it really speaks to the fact that maybe Bitcoin got lucky, and maybe there isn't really room. I mean, with Feathercoin, we introduced automatic checkpointing, but that was also very controversial. But it doesn't allow any of the developers to go around making arbitrary decisions like rolling back the blockchain because some people lost their money. You know, if people lost their money, I'm sorry, but you don't have the fitness function. You haven't adapted to the system, and you're probably going to have to try again, because if a few developers wield that kind of power, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree totally. I was really shocked, and I was also kind of shocked at, well, maybe I'm not shocked, but I was surprised at how many people on Twitter were like, "Oh yeah, what do you mean it's not good? You mean that it's good that the people got their coins stolen?" And I was like, no, that's not the point. The point is that if the devs say they can roll back the blockchain now, what if they decide they don't like me? And what if I say they're an asshole on Twitter, and they say, okay, now we're going to redo the blockchain for you. I mean, okay, that's an extreme situation.
Well,
but I mean,
actually, there was a real-world scenario with WorldCoin when MCX got attacked, when WorldCoin got hacked, and MCX now lost some coins. Guess what? Okay. You know, guess what Matey Boy did? Guess what Real Solid did? The guy who ran the MCX Now crypto exchange was also de facto the lead developer of WorldCoin. He rolled back the blockchain to save his own coins. And it's just like, well, you do that, and I'm sorry, but I'm never using that coin again. I mean, that's just ridiculous. And why did the people put up with it? You don't have to accept the checkpoint. You can just continue using the old version. But for whatever reason, they didn't. And so I think, yeah, I'm really sorry, but that coin to me just is no better than the traditional finance system.
Can that happen with Bitcoin? Can people set a checkpoint and roll that back?
Yeah, in fact, Bitcoin does have checkpointing, but the important thing to note is that what would happen if they tried to checkpoint is everyone else would just ignore them because it's so powerful now, right? No one would allow that to happen. The miners would just point their nodes, would point their hashing power at the old version. If someone tried to come in and checkpoint it, there would be no hashing power on that new version. But for some reason, because it's distributed enough, there's enough different agents, right? The problem with Verycoin is you've got a concentrated center of interests where people can just get together and say, well, we actually own most of the hash rate, or we've got most of the coins because it's a proof of stake coin. It doesn't rely on energy and time, right, to back it up. All you've got to do is own the coins. So they can just say, well, we're going to fork it, and then everyone else is just left there going, well, we don't really have much of a choice because you've got all of the coins, you know. And that's a shame.
Yeah, I think it's a shame. I'm not sure if well, it's also kind of a lesson, or I mean, I think it'll go down in a little bit of crypto history. But I mean, I think from what I read, a lot of people just didn't get it, you know, or they're just you know, kind of shills, you know, marketing shills that are just, you know, going on Twitter, pushing anything positive about that coin to avoid, you know, to push down all the, I don't know if it's just really people honestly think, oh, that's good because the people lost the coins and now they get the coins back, or if it's just, you know, kind of like marketing shills just saying, yeah, that's a great choice they did, now the people get the, and then another person said, yeah, well, they wouldn't have done it if businesses were on board using the coin. And I was like, what the hell? That doesn't have anything to do with it. That's ridiculous. It's a total, you know.
OKPay lost $30,000 in the Bitcoin fork in 2013. And nobody was saying, well, we should, you know, roll back and undo everyone else's transactions. Now, Verycoin doesn't have quite the same magnitude of the problem because it's not like loads and loads of people were spending Verycoin or buying Lamborghinis with it or anything like that. So it's not like anyone's transaction was reversed, spent on anything particularly important. Or sorry, the merchants receiving it who would have lost it. It was basically they were able to isolate the particular coins that were stolen which was about £4,000 worth of Verycoin, and they just rolled those back. So in terms of the amount of damage that they've done literally to the network, it's fairly limited, I would say. But when this actually did happen to Bitcoin, the decision was made, no, as developers, it's not our job to play central bank and to come here making arbitrary moral decisions about, whether the blockchain should be rolled back or not. They just basically, with Bitcoin, they just told everyone to go back to the old version of Bitcoin D because it was a technical problem with the database, and enough people agreed to roll back to the old version. So the chain that won was the chain that in theory shouldn't have won, but ultimately it was left up to the algorithm. It was taken out of the hands of a human agent.
Yeah. So anything else happen this past week?
Loads. So we also had an article in CoinDesk about everyone's smiling at me and I don't know why. About this guy who was actually one of the early entrepreneurs in the internet, Reid Hoffman, who created LinkedIn, actually predates Facebook, believe it or not, who says that he is now backing Bitcoin and that he's going to be investing some money in Zappo and so I think some other Bitcoin-related businesses, and he's looking at a 3 to 5 year time horizon. And not a daily horizon. He also mentions the importance of smart contracts, that really he doesn't see this as currency, more as a way of a transaction layer across the world, which allows people to exchange contracts rather than actual, for it to be used as money. I would also mention, they kind of bury it in the article here, but he also says that he doesn't believe in just buying the currency. In fact, he says that despite this, Hoffman cautioned investors, echoing the familiar refrain that investors shouldn't put any money into Bitcoin directly unless they are willing to lose the money. So I thought that was an interesting statement to make from someone who's supposed to be, investing in the ecosystem, that they wouldn't put any money into Bitcoin. Do you think he's saying that at £600 it's overvalued?
I don't think that's a contradiction. Sorry to put in. Because I mean, any sort of trading is gambling, and the first rule of gambling is don't bet more than you're willing to lose. And and effectively what he's saying is, however much he's putting into Bitcoin, he's willing to lose, but he thinks it's a good enough bet that he's actually doing it in the first place.
Yeah, I have to read the article, but I don't think that comment alone is that bad. In fact, I think it's really okay. I mean, he could have said, pump Bitcoin, everyone get in now, and I think that's the wrong message. I think it's okay. He said, I think that's a direction of saying, hey, you have to be responsible. You could lose all of your quote money, even though it would be fiat. He's talking about you would lose he's talking about you couldn't exit with more fiat, like we've talked about, But I mean, I still think at least he's saying, hey, it could go to zero. He's not saying, it's going to go to the moon or putting unnecessary expectations on the price. So in that sense, it's good. But I haven't read the whole article about his whole opinion, so I can't really say, but at least he talked about smart contracts and some of that stuff, even though he doesn't see it as a currency per se. He's even just putting these keywords out is getting people thinking about other uses and about how this is bigger than just what people are used to, just like money, like cash and dollars and all that kind of stuff. It's much bigger. So at least he has some kind of understanding that it's has other uses for everything.
Yeah, he's taken it beyond the money and the currency. I was just surprised that he said don't put any money into it. That kind of doesn't make sense.
It's part of that old-fashioned Bitcoiner thing when you used to say, "Oh yeah, just in case you might lose all your money." It's just an old thing to say. I don't think it really applies anymore. We have so many companies that are into this, so many programmers that are into it. It's much bigger than it used to be. So I don't think it really applies.
I agree. That sounds like old advice, but just old, regular investment advice. Hey, was anyone else excited by the news that Shopify now lets merchants choose if they want to use BitPay or Coinbase? It used to just be BitPay. Now they can have Coinbase as well. So
It's nice.
I
Sure, why
think
not?
that's a big deal. Yeah, finally some choices. I hate hearing on one hand I love hearing like, oh, this is an option now, but then there's only one company that provides it, and it's like, well, there's very much competition there.
And their slogan is decentralize all the things.
Whose is?
BitPay.
Really? Okay. I guess I didn't.
They print stickers that way, but yeah, they're kind of centralizing all the things.
Yeah.
If only eBay did the same thing rather than just being PayPal, PayPal, PayPal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
PayPal was the decentralized currency for a while. Yeah.
Well, the reason I think this is a big deal is because, I go around my local town. I live in Keene, New Hampshire, and whenever I spend money in stores, I ask, can I pay in Bitcoin? At least leading to a conversation about Bitcoin, and in some cases where they get set up with a wallet and a merchant account, something on usually Coinbase, and then it's in the real world. Well, that takes several visits, weeks often of having conversations occasionally. This is 70,000 merchants, just boom. Like, now I can accept Bitcoin, and that's in just one, stroke of a pen or a couple of lines of code added to their site or something. That's way more effective. And anyway, it's just something I think about. Like, do you talk to people in your daily life? Talk to merchants about accepting Bitcoin, or is that a waste of time?
Well, I've got an update on talking to merchants about Bitcoin. I went to my Bitcoin meetup yesterday, and we had a record number of 3 people come to the meetup, so it's very cool. Much more than our usual 0. We're usually in the 0 to 1 range. But I actually brought my Bitcoin ATM, and I brought my Piper paper wallet printer, and I demonstrated the Bitcoin ATM to people. And it was such a show that we actually got the owner of the pizza place to come over, and we installed the iPhone app on his phone, sold him $1 in Bitcoin, and got them all excited about Bitcoin. And now we're trying to talk to maybe the franchise or maybe the chain to accept Bitcoin in entirety for their entire chain. So
what app did he download?
Including you? Was that 3 people including you?
No, that was 3 people including me and my brother. So that's a total of 5. That's 3 people that didn't live in my house initially. So yeah, sometimes we get my roommates too. Sometimes my roommates will come. But yeah, it's a small meetup. So.
What app did you download, since you said he has an iPhone?
Well, it was a totally random choice. We chose Coin Pocket, I think it was, and he figured out how to install it and put his password in, and then he had a receive key that came right up, and we sent him the money, and it was great. The ATM was connected to the local Wi-Fi, and it worked, and it actually showed up right away on his transactions. A 0015 of a bit had been sent to him, so it was pretty neat. Got to try it out right there.
That's pretty cool. Are you going to be bringing it back? Do you have plans to talk to this owner about accepting Bitcoin for pizza?
Yeah, well, we're hoping that either just his restaurant or maybe even the entire Mountain Mike's chain will accept Bitcoin, because they're a smaller chain. They have maybe 40, 50 restaurants in California and Nevada, and there's no reason they couldn't get ahead of the other pizza places by accepting this. It's, he went through the stuff right away. He was like, well, I need a tablet, I need a data plan, because I need, always on data plan. He understood right away how all that would work, and his main thing was about when is he going to get the money and how much is he going to pay in fees.
And the answer is tomorrow and 1%, basically.
Well,
right?
now looking at the BitPay site, they're saying 2 days through BitPay, so that might be a tougher stuff.
Isn't it? I think Coinbase does it in 1 day.
Well, we'll have to get him Coinbase then, because I don't know. He was all about the credit cards. If he puts it in by a certain time, he gets paid the next day, and that was a really important thing to him. So we're not just look at all the options, and basically all the question he asks, we need to work together into a worksheet of what merchants really care about, because it was not your normal stuff. It was merchant-related questions.
Yeah.
Just so adding a. Go on, Chris.
You're basically a sales rep for one of these companies that are doing the payment processing. I just want the sales side to be a bit more educational focused, I suppose.
Well, I mean, I think the real idea still is that we should do the Bitcoin, like the week of Bitcoin or the Bitcoin parade or whatever we're calling it, where we should roll into a town with a presetted plan of these are the small businesses we're going to talk to, these are the local groups we're going to work with, and we have all of these kind of Bitcoin celebrities, you know, like whatever we are, you know, friends of Bitcoin, and we're going to roll in together. We're going to have the Skyhook ATM, we're going to have the paper wallets, and we could have the kind of seminars that you're talking about. Learn about Bitcoin, learn about paper wallets, learn about, you know, multi-sig, more detailed topics, Ethereum, talk about the future, you know, what could happen. But just in general, to have all of this happen in a week, get these businesses to take it, have parties at these businesses where everyone pays in Bitcoin, they get a chance to test it out, and then roll on to the next town. And I really think that even several of the large Bitcoin companies could get together and sponsor this kind of a tour. And we'd do it really professionally. Like, we'd make videos in every town. We'd talk to the people in every town. And I can already tell you, this is what the video looks like. It looks like one of those restaurant shows. In the beginning, we interview all the people, and they say, I don't know what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin's too complicated for me. I don't know any Bitcoins. And then in the middle, it's all of us teaching it to them, maybe some speeches, maybe some musical performance talking about Bitcoin, and, of course, us actually going to their stores and explaining them, getting them tablets. We'd have a stack of tablets. We'd have a stack of ATMs. We'd have a stack of paper wallet printers. Again, all of these people could sponsor the show. And then in the end, we'd interview the exact same people, and they'd say, Bitcoin's not that hard. I learned about Bitcoin. I accept it in my shop now. Joey's Subs accepts Bitcoin. Freddie's Fireplaces accepts Bitcoin. Like, each one of these small businesses will just convince them to accept it. And that'll be town to town.
And if anyone wants to help me do that in Nova Scotia, I'm totally game to do that. So if anyone wants to come up to Maritimes, please do.
Well, and eventually the kind of things we're talking about could be workshopped out into forms, and people could fill out the form, and they could run their own, you know, Bitcoin parade on their own town. And what this also looks for is we hope to have a place, like to choose these places by the size of the meetup. So if we had a meetup with like 20 or 30 committed people, we could come to your town for sure, and basically you would do some of the groundwork of getting us the businesses, maybe having personal relationships with a couple of businesses to get us in the door, let us meet there, you know, let us gather our people there, that kind of relationships. But yeah, this is very possible. I don't think it's that expensive. And again, this is what, you know, one of the things that Bitcoin needs is adoption, and it's a chicken and the egg problem. We're not going to have the adoption we want until, you know, people aren't going to use it until it's adopted, and people aren't going to adopt it until people use it. Well, how are we going to break through that? Well, we're just going to have to get people to adopt it, you know, for generally.
Yeah, it actually, what it does is, what's powerful about Tom's idea, and I liked it the moment when the first time he told me, is it actually shows people that other people care about it. It's social proof, because someone out of their way to fund these two guys to go out, or however many people, to go out, show people using it, spending it, which is not what's happening at the moment. At the moment, it's very VC focused. It's all about building these giant castles in the sky and all these kind of big platforms. What we're doing is keeping it real. We're actually going to real people. We're not necessarily going to large cities or places that are already well catered for. We're going to independent merchants who are often priced out of payment processing. So they can't afford the actual machines. The banks don't particularly want to innovate because they're already pretty cozy where they are. That's what I really like about this. It's a virtuous spiral.
It's also the kind of places that might be cash only. If you're a cash only business right now, you already know about credit card fees. You already know how much money you're losing in processing time and the complexities there. And if you went cash and Bitcoin only, you'd be in a much better situation, and maybe in the future with a Bitcoin ATM, even just Bitcoin only. But sorry, David, you wanted to add something?
No, I was just saying before, if anyone wants to come up to Nova Scotia, I'd be really into working on this with someone. Other than that, I just had some technical difficulties and my Hangout disappeared, so it's all good.
Very good. But yeah,
go
ahead, Chris.
One of the things that I think is really powerful about Bitcoin, I did my first multi-sig transaction the other day, believe it or not. It's been all that time. I don't know why I didn't do it sooner. I ordered a new laptop off the internet. It's like a better one than I had before, and I put all my wallets onto there because I put everything on offline laptop. But this one was a bit more sophisticated, and it had Linux Mint on it, and so I put Armory Wallet on there and loaded up a full node on my laptop for the first time in a while. And I couldn't believe how slick the M of N transactions were in Armory Wallet. Now, this isn't an actual multi-sig transaction, but this is a backup that allows 4 people to own the keys to a hierarchical deterministic wallet. And hierarchical deterministic means that it's just one root key, one root password, which can then generate a deterministic set of Bitcoin addresses, like billions of these Bitcoin addresses, so that even if you lose the individual Bitcoin addresses, you can always get them all back again with the root key. And then what you can do is you can then divide this root key over 4 people. So you see this is just sheet number 1, and then you've got another window behind it, which I probably can't show you, but there's another window behind it that gives you all the others, and then you can just separate that. So you have what's called the separation of concerns, where you're able to divide up amongst the people in your particular locality all of the different particular duties that they do. So this person can be given this money, you know, for this amount, and then you can put these 2 people who can be responsible for setting up the local fete or whatever it happens to be. Or let's say like in England at the moment, where we have hospital and school closures, particularly in the north of England, where nobody wants to live apparently anymore unless you're retiring, because everyone wants to live in the southeast of England where the property prices are going up and all the jobs are. So a lot of these places where people didn't particularly want to move out of are finding that they've got to travel further to get to hospitals. So why not have local people raise money in this kind of fashion? And then if you don't want to put all your trust into one person, well, that's no problem. We've already got the technology right now so that that trust can be distributed up to 7 people at the moment. And so a lot of this stuff, like I say, you just need to kind of give people and show them what, not necessarily, don't start with how the technology works, but show them what this can do and what they can do with it. That's all I want to say. Silence. Yeah. So somebody should pay us, and you should pay us right now. You should give us some money, and we're going to go do this, and we're going to set up a forum on World Crypto Network, and Tom's shaking his head, but it was his idea, and then we're going to go around the world, wherever. We'll just put up a map of the world, and you can just vote on which town or village you want, and whoever raises the most Bitcoins each week, we'll just go out and do that. And if we can't get to that country, we'll find someone who will. We'll find, if you're a viewer of the show and you think your town and village is underrepresented, just make yourself known to us. You know, we can have you on the show, you know, get to know you a little bit, and then you can get your own camera and go out there and do it, and we'll help raise money for you.
That is what I like most about this idea, is that it sounds like a truly decentralized approach, or not a decentralized approach, but a ground-up approach rather than a top-down.
Like, I like the idea of creating the forums and open sourcing the idea so that anyone could have a Bitcoin party, and so that they would have the steps to go through. And I've talked to Will about this, about how to set up Bitcoin meetups and how to have them spread. And essentially what we're building towards is a sales organization, because you need to cold call businesses and you need to get the idea of Bitcoin out to them. Even if you're not successful the first time, you're planting the seeds for later, and somebody else is going to come back and pick that up. So we just have to convince everyone to accept this.
Yeah, every merchant wants publicity. So I think you go in and you say, look, we want to film your business. We want to put your business on the internet, and we're happy to keyword it with the name of your business. We're happy to put that into Google so it comes up on Google Maps so that people will be able to find you in the future. I don't think any merchant's going to have a problem with that. I think the biggest complaint I get from merchants about Bitcoin is that people don't spend it enough. They have it and they set it all up, but then nobody's there to keep that watered afterwards. No one's there to really nurture that relationship. So it's a whole-bodied approach. We've got to take a holistic approach.
Parties at their businesses. The meetups need to nurture and support their businesses. If you get a Bitcoin business, you need to start shopping and spending Bitcoin there, even if you want to rebuy the Bitcoin. I know Coinbase has a program now. When you spend Bitcoin, they'll automatically rebuy it from your fiat account, so you can keep the same amount in your Bitcoin investment, and you can continue to spend it like it's cash.
Very good.
To merchants who say, I'm not going to accept Bitcoin because no one's carrying it, I get a little bit peeved off with that attitude, because it's a chicken and the egg problem. However, the merchants are so much better placed than consumers to actually do it, because it's not going to cost them. I mean, they might have a one-off cost of getting some equipment. It's not going to cost them to have an ongoing ability to accept Bitcoin, and they are the ones who can put a sign up in their window that hundreds of people are going to walk past every day saying Bitcoin accepted here. I mean, consumers can't do the same thing. Consumers can't have a sign on from their back going up above their head saying, "I've got Bitcoin to spend."
Well, as a Bitcoin spender, I do have a sign, at least a magnet on the back of my vehicle that says I accept Bitcoin. So as a consumer, I am doing that to the best of my ability.
Yeah,
well, I think what we do.
Point, David. I would hope that more people who have Bitcoin and want to see it adopted are asking merchants when they're spending their money. I mean, we've got opportunities every day. You spend money every day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we've got opportunities to be talking about this with new merchants every single day.
Sure.
Well, I think as a group of people, like, we've come together, we created World Crypto Network. I really like the idea about it as soon as, Tom said it to me, where it's actually just a group of people trying to concentrate their efforts to help one another out. And I think we've got to the point now where we really need to, like, go for it. And we've got something very powerful. People are following us all of the time. We're starting to get people approaching us, asking me to do talks, and I saw you on the World Crypto Network. I saw your interview with Andreas and all of this kind of thing. I think we need to capitalize on that. I think we've built up enough reputation now. We've built that kind of that following up. So now I think we need to start approaching Bitcoin businesses. I've already spoken to a few on email over the last few days, just saying, look, we've got this idea. It's just an idea at the moment, but in principle, if we did this, would you be okay, building a connection with your business and getting some, like, affiliate situation worked out? Not only that, but also we can bring UX feedback. We can actually get usability feedback on the ground, like videos of people using their products and saying, this is what they told us, and have that be a positive feedback loop. So it's not just us going out and selling Bitcoin. It's actually us helping the businesses grow their products by getting feedback from people on the ground, giving them the tools they need to grow their economies so that they can fight against these big corporate monsters offshoring all their profits.
And that's the other great part about this. It's not for the large businesses. We're not going to Walmart. We're not going to Applebee's. We're going to the small businesses in your town, and that's what you should be looking at. You should be targeting the small businesses. You should be shopping at a special out-of-the-way coffee shop because you have a better chance of convincing them to accept Bitcoin than Starbucks, right? You can shop at Starbucks all you want. They're not going to care. But a special out-of-the-way place, you give them a flyer one day, you give them a business card the next day, you tell them you'll come back and do the technical support. Remember, we need to build bridges here, and that essentially you need to remove the spyware on everyone's computer. We need to talk Bitcoin to everyone, and that's the only thing that's going to get it over that hurdle, that's going to get it to total Bitcoin adoption, that we're going to do it, and we're going to do it together as a team.
Woo!
Okay.
Oh, I love it. Let's just do it, man.
Well, my question
with the right people, with funny people.
So where to get started? Just making a list of the top meetup groups around the world.
No, I think this kind of like really very extremely simple syllabus for a total beginner as a PDF document that someone that's not a teacher could follow and tell someone would be a good way, because it explains it in a way where you're not overflown with information. This is my experience is like this. Someone like if I'm at the co-working space that I'm at, or I'm at somewhere and they're like, "Hey Theo, you're the Bitcoin guy or whatever, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay. What do you want to know?" And they're like, "So do I have to mine Bitcoin to get Bitcoin?" And I'm like, "No, you don't have to mine Bitcoin." Or they said, "Oh yeah, I heard that if you get this big machine, then you get." People have really a lot of misconceptions. So you just need to do it really step for step, and for example, if anyone is like, "What about mining?" You can just say, "Yeah, that's how the network is secured, and that's why the transactions go from A to B." But you don't have to explain mining. Because I was at some presentations before, and the people did a really good job presenting, but I think a lot of beginners got really confused, because at the end they didn't know, they couldn't understand really. They had the impression, "Oh, I've got to be a miner now," just because they explained some detail about what mining is, for example. So I would leave mining out of it first in a lot of detail and just go with like, okay, this is your wallet. This is how you secure your wallet. If you lose the key, it's over. It's gone. It's just like you drop cash on the street. And then I don't know what's next after that. I guess next we have to decide I mean, most people are going to have Windows. They're not going to have Linux, and they're not going to have Mac. So we're going to have to start with Windows probably. And we're going to have to. I guess the next step
First
is
lesson, uninstalling Windows. How to
Yeah.
uninstall and replace
Yeah,
it with Ubuntu.
Wishful
Yeah,
thinking,
yeah,
I'm afraid.
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's like a whole nother level. You know, let's keep it pretty simple first, and then
Do
I
you
guess
all
the next.
a PDF like what you're describing at Explain Bitcoin?
Probably no, I don't. Unfortunately, I need to get
I-
one. I'm talking a lot
I-
of shit, but I don't have it. But and then I guess the next important thing would be a paper wallet. So you could explain how to do a hot wallet and how to do a cold wallet, and that's two really important things, I think.
Well, here's what I'm thinking. I did instructional videos before on like how to set up a Bitcoin. Well, everyone has that one, and then like how to spend money on gift and how to do certain Bitcoin things like double factor authentication or two-factor authentication, stuff like that. So I would want to have a video, like a goal-specific video series to accompany this. You know, like
Yes.
ideas need to have something where people can reference them when they're at their little Bitcoin parties. Like, here, let's watch this 5-minute video. This will make it easy, and then they can like do it.
The key,
on
the
their
key
phone.
thing here, guys, is just do it and then get the feedback on how it went. Because like we can say, yeah, let's do a PDF, let's do this and that, but we don't know how that's going to come across unless we just do it. Tom's already got a website up and running. I think we put just a page up there where we can go and converse and other people can see what we're doing. We can put all our videos up there as well. We can then come back and report. Like I went to this meetup in my local area. I tried a PDF thing. Chris tried a video thing. I tried teaching them out of Windows, and that's how that went across. And just start coming back like with feedback so that we can start developing it and iterating on it.
Well, and remember with the Windows thing, with the Linux thing, with the security thing, that for a long time it's been okay for you normal users to have your unsecured computers, right? No one cared about your PDF files, no one cared about your documents, you're not that important, right? Well, now you've changed everything. You've put this digital computer money on all of your computers and in all these accounts that touch all of your computers. So basically where the normal people were not worth the time to hack anymore, that's changed. And now they're worth it. If you've got a pile of 30 Bitcoins that you purchased 2 years ago, they might not be worth that much to you, but to an alleged hacker or a cracker or a kitty or whatever we want to call them, it's worth the time now. It's worth the time to hack your computer. Your email is now worth taking over because your email controls all your Bitcoin accounts. So if you don't have Gmail and you don't have two-factor authentication, which is a little code on your cell phone that lets you in, then you're going to get hacked and they're going to take your money.
I don't know whether we should get into talking about this on this show, but there are a lot of but points to all the things we've just been saying, actually. I mean, for example, are our computers that more of a juicy target than they were before, given that we'd have our credit card details and bank passwords possibly stored on them? And there's other things as well that I can't remember now. I'm tired. But yeah, I think there's a whole debate to have on this.
Well,
Actually,
remember,
sort of
if your
debate and develop the
credit card's
syllabus.
stolen, you can get them reversed. If your credit card money's gone, you can say, hey, I didn't make that purchase. Please reverse it. And that's simply not an option for Bitcoin. It's digital cash. So it's not only is your money on your computer, but it's on this ledge. And if it falls off the ledge, it's gone forever. And a slight breeze could blow it off. A hacker could blow it off. You could put it in the wrong account. You know, you could put the wrong password on, type it badly. All of those things, your money's gone. So it's, you know, it's digital cash. It's exciting. It's new. And you're going to have to learn something if you want to be your own bank. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you pay for it one way or another. Like, you pay for the security one way or another, either through Visa and MasterCard or through educating yourself about alternative currencies like Bitcoin.
Chris is right. Coding is important. Knowledge is important. And people are going to have to get into knowledge.
It's cheaper to do it with the knowledge. Like it's cheaper to just learn how to secure it and do it yourself than paying off Visa and MasterCard.
Having said that, though, if someone does a fraudulent transaction on your debit card, the bank does not care.
No, but they end up passing the cost on to a bloated insurance industry. And if, as a business, if you've done a number of chargebacks, you get penalized. They start holding the money back from you for longer. They charge you a little bit more, so your premiums go up. So the insurance industry ends up becoming bloated.
Mm-hmm.
So you pay for it one way or another. It'll all get passed on.
Sure.
Everything's connected. It's a zero-sum game.
Yeah.
Hey, can I interrupt this discussion for a plug? I am suing my local police department. Not suing them. I am taking them to court. And I am doing a fundraiser, and about half of the funds that I've raised so far have been in Bitcoin. And that was just in the first 36 hours. We've raised 40% of the goal, and I am just blown away by the support of the Bitcoin community. And the support of everyone who's donated. But it wouldn't be possible without Bitcoin. The ability to donate from a distance, yeah, you can do it with Federal Reserve notes or credit cards through these fundraising platforms. But Bitcoin, I would say has no fees, so it's preferred. And people who don't have those credit cards or don't want to be on the grid, they can donate totally anonymously this way. So if you want to support the fundraiser, it is at gofundme.com/gunrights. I was denied a concealed carry license in a shall issue state. I don't fit any of the descriptions for denial. So I believe this is just because the police here don't like me. And you can donate here, GoFundMe.com.
Terrorist.
Yeah, so I made also this little banner. So if you want to support this, the reason I think it's important is because I am a peace activist, and if a peace activist can be denied a concealed carry license in a shall issue state, so could anyone. The law is meaningless if that's how it is. So please support it with pennies or more if you like. There's no limit on Bitcoin donations. So thanks a lot. I've retained already who I believe is the best attorney in the country for this issue. He's won several cases just like it. So. Anyway, thanks so much to everyone who's already donated. Thanks for your support, and thanks to those who will donate. Sorry, that's my brief plug.
Very cool.
That's
Very
gonna
cool.
be happening in the
It's
next
a good
2
thing. Did they have laws about samurai swords? Because
no.
you could just put one in your back, carry around a samurai sword, and when they say, yeah, why are you have that? You say, well, I'm not allowed to have, a concealed weapon, so I just want to, let everyone know that No, I'm just saying that I really, when I lived in the States, there really was a guy that used to walk around with a samurai sword on his back, and the cops, couldn't do anything because it was technically legal, and he didn't bother anyone, but it was kind of weird that this guy was walking around with one.
Yeah, I would like to be able to defend myself without looking like a weirdo. So, that's
Okay.
But it would be perfectly legal for me to do something like that. There are no restrictions on the
Yeah,
the
but you
side.
can't chop up fruit with a gun,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Well,
Or
you could put a
It's
bayonet
not-
on it. You could put a bayonet, and then you can chop up fruit, and that's cool. Then you've got both,
Well, one of the weird
But
things
it's a good
about
cause. I mean, that's a crazy case. I looked at your page and your case, and that's really, that's like you said, it's unbelievable. I mean, if you can get denied, then anyone can get denied. I mean, you're not you have no record of being, violent or whatever the things that they usually look for. So it makes absolutely no sense. It's just totally subjective. I don't know what exactly happened. If it was just this judge, or is it that cop that you're sitting next to is the one that's denying it, or how did that work?
It's the chief of police who denied me in Keene. He doesn't talk to me. You know, I try and say hello and shake his hand, and it's just a personal thing. Like, I know he doesn't like me, so he's denied me because he can. And so this is unfortunately how it works in 2014 America. You have to purchase your rights from the government. It's a lot like the church in the Middle Ages.
Now, come on, Derek. Tell me the truth. Have you been antagonising the police officers? Because I know you like to go on your victimless crime sprees. You're probably not. You probably caused him loads of paperwork, loads of headaches, and now he's just like, God, this guy. And then he comes up to me and smiles and wants to shake my hand after all of his victimless crimes. He's just doing
Yeah,
his job.
I do. I really see us all as brothers and sisters on Earth. What I really want is world peace. I do see Bitcoin as a huge part of that, which is why I work in the Bitcoin space, but also I do civil disobedience activism because I believe that good people disobey bad laws. And if more people did that, then we'd have a freer, happier, more peaceful world. So I think that the real question is, does civil disobedience remove a person's right to conceal carry a weapon? And that's, I would say it shouldn't, but that's the argument that's happening. So anyway, final plug, but it's at GoFundMe.com/gunrights. I know it's not something I typically talk about on the show. It's not something I even wanted to do. I don't typically talk about gun rights, but since it affects me and it's going to be happening in the next 2 weeks, I think it's important enough.
It's important. It's important. Plug it. It's cool.
Thanks to everyone. Other than that, news stories from this week that inspired you, shocked you, made you think?
I've got some short news. Since we're on followthecoin.com, I wanted to say hi to all the Dogecoin fans out there and acknowledge that the Doge meme, maybe not Dogecoin, but the Doge meme was mentioned in the new Weird Al video, Word Crimes, as you can see right here.
Wow.
So very cool. Way to go, Doge. And then we also had another new video this week, Bitcoin Girl music video. And check this out. It's a parody of Billy Joel's Uptown Girl, except, of course, Bitcoin Girl. So very cool stuff going on out there.
Awesome. I love to see like indie media stuff like that. Cool alternative art stuff. Hey, with that Dogecoin, do you think Weird Al uses Bitcoin and Dogecoin?
I doubt it, but it would be neat if he knew about it. Who knows? Maybe he's pretty technically elite. Maybe his next album will have a song about cryptocurrency, or maybe his current album has a reference. He's releasing one video a day, so he's really getting people into this new album. So maybe some of his new videos do have a reference, but we'll see. White and Nerdy was a pretty big song for Weird Al, and of course, All About the Pentiums. He's done a lot of technical songs.
Wow.
Good.
You know your Weird Al.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I thought that he was technically savvy enough to actually be using it. I thought that might be something that he inspired. It was in the music video. Maybe we should write to him, talk to him about Dogecoin. I would love to. I would love to see if he actually knows about it and uses it.
Would be great. I don't know. You can send him a tweet on Twitter.
All right, I'm doing that.
See if he does a cover of Bitcoins from Heaven.
Yeah. Maybe I could make a request, like do a Bitcoin song.
Well, I know if you want to make a request, and if you're in San Francisco this weekend, Tatiana Moroz is having a concert at the 20 Mission co-working space. So.
Cool. Are you going?
Yeah, I'm gonna go. San Francisco.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You got some Tatiana coin yet? How do you do that? We done that?
Tatiana coin?
Yeah.
I bought some. I haven't logged in to check on them yet, but they should be there now.
Cool.
I know there's more information at TatianaCoin.com. For a while, it was an auction, like you could buy a daily a bid every day for some Tatiana coin, and then they changed it to be more of a you could just buy Tatiana coin. I don't know. I guess they're still selling them.
It's on the you can get it on the Ripple not Ripple Counterparty Counterparty decentral exchange, because I made a whole Counterparty account just to go through the whole experience. I even created a coin, but I won't say the name of it yet. To try to just wanted to see how it works and how you can do it, and so it's pretty easy to use, actually,
Cool.
the counterparty system. So and it work. I mean, the decentral exchange works too. It's not really fast like a normal exchange because it depends on a certain amount of confirmations for your transaction. I mean, first you have to find someone to make a transaction with. If you were to buy, let's say I had Bitcoin and I wanted to buy Tatiana coin, then I'd have to find, it would be like in the order book, it would make a match, and then it has to wait for a few Bitcoin confirmations in order for it to go through. So it's not like at a normal trading exchange, but it works. It just takes a little while. So if you use it, don't be shocked if it doesn't instantly, show that you've got your coins. You have to be kind of patient. But
How long did it take for
yeah,
you to
you
get
can.
set up on Counterparty?
What now?
How long did it take for you to get set up on Counterparty?
Well, not that long. I just had to make sure that the main thing that I was a little worried about is that the first thing I did is I just used the online wallet just to see how it works, and they have an address, and I wasn't sure what I should send to that address. If I should send Bitcoin to that address, or if I should send XCP or whatever it's called, the counterparty money, the counterparty currency to that address. But you can send both to that address, so it's kind of weird,
Huh.
So you can send, so you have these addresses in your wallet, and you can send both to that address. So both counterparty, Bitcoin, and I believe any other of the coins that are using Counterparty, you could send to those addresses that are in your Counterparty wallet. So they would accept, and they would automatically detect what coin was sent there. So that's kind of weird, and but it's kind of cool, and I mean, I don't know if it's going to catch on, or I mean, there's Let's Talk Bitcoin coin is on there, Tatiana coin is on there. Counterparty itself is on there on this decentral exchange. I mean, and there's like a bunch of other ones. I mean, there's some really funny ones. There's one like called beef, soybeans. I mean, I don't know if these are really like backed or someone just had the idea, but I mean, somebody bought some of them, so I don't know if they're just experimental or what's up with them. But I mean, theoretically, it's not a decentral coin. It's just like a token that you can give out, but it's still on the blockchain, so it's kind of like a hybrid mix. Oh yeah, that's the site right there. So I think you can get started pretty quickly if you just like go to wallet. I think it's counterwallet.co is the online one. You can just go ahead and at least experiment really quick. Of course, you have to be safe and all that. I don't want to, but I mean, I think for just testing it out, it's okay if you're cautious enough just to see how it works. And what's cool is, try to make a wallet, they make you use one of those strong passwords that you were talking about just a minute ago. So you cannot create your own password. It creates a password, and it has like 5 or 6 words is always the password. So it's similar to the passwords that we were looking at earlier, where it has
it's a mnemonic.
Yeah,
it's a mnemonic, and it's
there you go.
It's a way of recovering your account. Yeah, it's a way of recovering your account.
So you have to use this kind of. There is no other way. You have to get a password like that. So it's kind of hard to remember. It's kind of a lot of words to remember, but at least they're kind of going in that direction where you have to use this kind of heavy password. But it also made me wonder. I wonder how many counter wallets get lost because everyone has to have this mega password with like 12 words or something. But anyway,
it's kind of hard.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to put in something simple, like just.
Well, it would generate. You could have done it. It generated one for me just by myself. But I mean, yeah, you could try to do it like that. I don't know how I did it. I just let them generate it, and it kind of sounded like it was kind of funny.
I'm not setting a real one up. I'm
okay.
testing it.
Well, it doesn't cost anything to set up the wallet. I mean, I think if you just hit create now, it would just create one. You don't have to put anything.
Right.
You don't have to put anything in it first. But I mean, it's an interesting project, and the cool thing about Counterparty is that there's actually stuff. So Tatiana Coin and a few others, are actually being used. So it's live. It's not in. So Ethereum is like in beta, 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 or whatever their alpha, beta 5000 or whatever you want to call it, and Mastercoin. Okay, I guess SafeCoin is supposed to use Mastercoin, or MadeSafe, or I guess MadeSafe and SafeCoin are two separate things, but they're on Mastercoin, and I don't know other projects on Mastercoin. I mean, I wanna test that out too, but I just haven't got around to it. Have you guys tested out, buying and selling on the decentralized exchange on Mastercoin?
No.
I'm trying out the
Okay.
counter wallet buy and sell thing, and it's incredibly difficult.
I'm trying it right now. I just signed up. I just did an account live,
Okay.
and I was
So,
broadcasting it.
yeah,
So I'm
you-
not really going to use this,
Yeah,
account.
another thing that I found a little tricky is that some people could be devious, because what you can do is you could make a token that sounds really similar. So like I could make a typo Tatiana coin, for example, if I wanted to be an asshole, and like I could just like add two T's or something. And when I go in right here and I want to select one to buy, if I like found that and I don't know, there's no really confirmation. You have to just do your own due diligence to make 100% sure you're buying the right token. So I found that a little weird, because I found some like really weird ones, and you don't know what it is. I mean, so
Yeah,
you
so there's Tatiana and Tatiana coin. So did someone already do that?
exactly. So what one do I buy? I don't know. We have to
Well,
figure
then-
that out.
It even gets worse when you try to buy and sell something. I mean, if you look at this here, the buy and sell window has quantity of Bitcoin to buy, quantity of Tatiana coin to sell, and you can do that as unit price or as quantity. But why not both? Why can't I say I want to sell 5 Tatiana coins at this price, and then you, computer, do the math to add up the Bitcoin? This doesn't make, like, as a consumer trying to use this is incredibly difficult. Like,
It's not for consumers. It's only for freaks right now. But it works. It is for freaks, but it works. So I
I'm
still
gonna
think
have
it's
to
cool
do
that it can
math.
just kind
I'm
of.
gonna have to do math, man.
Yeah,
I don't know.
this
I
is
was able to buy stuff pretty easily, so I don't know.
this is kind of hard for me to use. I'm trying it out. What's this? Gaming, rock paper scissors. What is this? Oh,
No, I haven't. I
are
haven't gone into all that.
in a country which we are legally unable to provide the service of rock paper scissors.
Yeah, I
How-
haven't gone into all that. They have some kind of betting stuff, but I haven't. I haven't figured that out yet. I was pretty happy that I figured out how to use the decentralized exchange, and it worked, and and then you can and I was able to create a token. So it's
The
not.
decentralized exchange can work. Why can't rock paper scissors work?
Well, that's the thing. They're kind of freaked, because they want to make sure that they want to help you not break any laws. I mean, you should be able to do it yourself. But I guess that like whenever I hear some of the counterparty people talk, or I see them writing, they're like, yeah, you can create tokens, and they could be backed by assets, but be sure that you're following the laws wherever you are. So basically it means, so I have like a lot of ideas for backed coins or backed tokens that would work fine, but I think you have to get a money transmitter license in order to have an asset backed coin, like what is this stupid one? Verycoin. Yeah, he's going to have to get a money transmitter license, And then there's this other, yeah, and then there's this other altcoin that's not, it's not on Counterparty, but it's an altcoin, and it's like backed by fertilizer or something, and they had some big uproar this week. What is that called? Have you guys seen that?
Manure coin?
No. Yeah, but anyway, I don't think that you can. I mean, you could use it, and you could say, okay, if you have this token, you could give it back to me, and I would send you the silver or the gold or whatever it's backed with. You know what I mean? Or you could trade it with your friends, and they know that they can give it back to me for whatever the silver or gold. It's just like a note. It's just like a treasury note, except that you could give it back to somebody. I mean, you could use it like that, or you could just use it like Tatiana coin, or I don't know, but. Anyway, I thought it was interesting to at least see what it is and see if it works, and it does in fact work. So this whole thing about bootstrapping the blockchain can work. I don't know if it's going to be a success or not. I don't know, but it can work technically.
Wait, I dig it, and I understood everything you said up until bootstrapping the blockchain. What?
It just means using the blockchain to do other stuff. That's it.
And also, you're not having to build your own hashing rate with your own blockchain. You're using Bitcoin's blockchain.
Exactly.
So there's a feature that was recently introduced into Bitcoin called op return, which allows extra miscellaneous data to be added to the transactions. So in
like
the past,
notes and stuff, so that I can send messages and say like, this is the official fundraiser of Ross Ulbricht, for example.
that's right, and that was formalized recently. People have been doing it already. There was a small message header in there, but now they've opened it up to like 40 bytes of data. But Counterparty didn't get I think it was the 80 bytes that they wanted in that feature. The 80 bytes was proposed, but then Jeff Garzik and a few of the other core developers decided it wasn't a good idea because actually Bitcoin was never designed for this purpose, and that you're probably better off leaving this kind of thing for it's something like Ethereum, where the whole purpose of it is to carry metadata over the network.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it could be. It could be when Ethereum. I mean, I tried to download Ethereum and play with it, but I just couldn't get it. But I think it's too early for. It's not too early to test something with Ethereum, I'm sure, but it was too early for what I was able to download to really do very much. I mean, you can read a white paper, and you can they have some kind of basic stuff you can download, but it's not really that functional at the moment. But it's gonna come. There's a big team behind it building all that. And yeah, you're right. Ethereum is made for that, so maybe that's better. I don't know. I still don't know exactly how they're going to have hash power and all that. Do you know? Is it like a staked coin, or how is that going to work?
The idea is a beautiful idea. You've got a currency called Ether, which they're analogizing to oil. And in order to get your script to run, they've created their own programming languages that are fashioned after Lisp and Python and other ones. And in order to get your app to run on the Ethereum network, like your Tatiana coin or whatever, you have to pay Ether for that script to run. And so therefore that produces demand in the market. People will want to buy the Ether to have their programs run, and then they can pass that cost on as businesses to consumers for the apps that they write. So it's a wonderful system that Vitalik has come up with in theory. At least on paper, everything seems to work very elegantly. It waits to be seen, you know, when the rubber hits the road and how it actually works. But I think that you've got problems with the centralization, is that now the Ethereum network becomes the thing to take down because so much relies on it. I still prefer the idea that Travis Savo, who's one of the developers at Feathercoin, came up with his blockchain link project, where he lets you use any blockchain to do that same thing, and then just allow the market to decide, because then people will just start using different blockchains, different coins, and they say, well, actually, I think Dogecoin is the best one that's suited to sending metadata over the network. Let's all use Dogecoin. So I thought that was a much better kind of paradigm. I'd much rather have it open up. I mean, eventually, I think these blockchains should be backed by people, that everyone should have their own blockchain. And that, you know, I think what the blockchain represents is an entirely new way of communicating, whereas unlike in the past, you just communicate discreetly. So each piece of information wasn't related to the information before it. With the blockchain, when I give you a new piece of information, it comes with all the old information as well, so that you can understand it in terms of its history, in terms of its past. And I think it represents a new way, a new language really for the internet. I just think that Bitcoin is the internet, and that it's basically changed the texture and the topology of the internet completely. I still feel like we're just messing around with a lot of these toys that we've got at the moment with these projects, like with the Counterparty and the Mastercoin. I think they're very, very experimental. I'm not anticipating them lasting, you know, a few years.
Mm-hmm. What's the update on Feathercoin, Chris?
Say again?
Sorry, I was just asking another direction about Feathercoin, but you were saying something about a screen cap?
Oh yeah, you just demonstrated it there with your screen capture, how little liquidity there is on those exchanges, right? Tatiana coin has like one buy order and a whole bunch of sell orders. And the problem is that you're not ready yet to create a market unless there's already the demand. What you're doing is you're putting the cart before the horse. You're not waiting for that demand to arise and then creating the services around it. You're creating the services and then expecting everyone to turn up, and I just don't think that's the right approach.
Yeah, that's how it is.
I think in terms of Feathercoin, like many of the other altcoins, we really struggle to stay relevant when there are so many of these things out there, which is why we're focusing on local projects like we have been. We don't do any PR tactics. We don't do kind of, lots of boiling the ocean, let's take over the world kind of stuff. Where we're working, one of our developers is working on an open source point of sale, which you can make with a 3D printer and a Raspberry Pi. He's open sourcing all the circuitry. I think there are like 500 lines of Python that you download, and so anyone then will be able to set up their own point of sale, any merchant. There's also an open source Feathercoin ATM which takes coins. I believe there are plans to do one that has banknotes and so on. So yeah, we're just trying to concentrate on a local area.
Printable point of sale. How is that possible?
So,
do they have 3D printable screens?
No, you buy the Raspberry Pi kits, which one of the kits has a screen with it. And so you can put the screen and you can download. You don't have to do it with a 3D printer. You can just go to a maker's shop and they'll just make it up. I mean, all the CAD drawings, all of the designs are like, open source. So you can just take the designs to anyone that can make anything, and they'll just make it out of metal or something else. But yeah, ideally the idea, what we're trying to do is we're not trying to build something for now. We're trying to build something for the next 10 years because you've got to anticipate all the changes that are coming up. So it's really about making this, trying to produce as little redundancy in the system as possible. Whenever you do some work, even if it doesn't directly benefit you, it should directly benefit someone else. So even if it doesn't work for Feathercoin, someone else can just fork it and then it will work for their coin or their project, or someone can use it for Bitcoin instead if they want to.
Yeah, I really like that idea that you can just use any blockchain to use, do one of these projects on top of it. That would be really a good way to do it, because then you wouldn't depend on any one blockchain, like you were saying. It would be really decentral, and yeah, maybe we'll all have our own blockchains.
It would also be good if people worked more on things like proof of burn and proof of sacrifice, so that these blockchains could actually talk to each other. I mean, just as an example, like the project that Mike Hearn was working on, where he wanted you to be able to encode your passport into the blockchain. I mean, I could do that right now, right? I could go to my passport office, have a picture taken with me holding up my passport in front of one of the members of staff there, maybe a copy of today's newspaper just for good measure, right, to prove that that event took place at that time or later. I can take a hash, generate a SHA-1 hash of that image, and I can put that into the blockchain, and then I can actually use that image as a way of proving my identity. Right. So right now I've proved that here's something exists on this blockchain. I am now actually building intrinsic value into that blockchain. It could be Dogecoin. I could have done it through blockchain link. And then what I can do is I can go to an exchange and say, look, rather than me actually handing you a copy of my passport, I got a doctor to witness this. And upon his witnessing, he stamped that into the blockchain. And here's the file. And I'm only able to produce this hash with this file. Here you go. You don't have to see my documentation. I can prove that I own it right now. And so we've got a lot of these tools that we can use. People just need to be educated about it and understand how it works.
Yep. Yeah, it sounds good.
How do you recommend people educate themselves about how this stuff works? I mean, a lot of this stuff I don't even know exists. How do I know to look for it?
Well, you watch shows like this one and you get I mean, that's kind of the wrong question, because if you've got to be inspired first. So if you're not already inspired, maybe it's not the right time for you to learn about it. If it isn't the right time for you to learn about it, just keep it in mind and just keep it on your radar. And when you're ready, then I think you will just sit down and you'll learn it. The problem is that this is kind of tantamount to fire, right? Like, we've just discovered this new phenomena on the earth. The problem is, I think a lot of people are put off because they don't like the politics that surrounds it. They don't like the misaligned intentions that they seem to pick up upon people, like, you're only telling me this because you're a shill, or you just want the price to go up, so it's in your interest to tell me. So you've got, like I said earlier, you've got this dichotomy between the engineering and the underlying philosophies behind it, which I think are absolutely vital, and then you've got these kind of misaligned incentives that sit on top, where you've got these political and economic motives.
Got it, Derek?
Yeah. That's very
good.
Well, okay, so how would you use Counterparty productively? I mean, how are you looking to use it, Theo?
I don't know. I had an experience. Actually, I was just gonna make a joke, but I'm just trying to figure out how to do it, but I can't figure out how to do it automatically I'd probably have to use something like Ethereum. So I was going to make a sound-backed currency. So it's just back. It's called beep. So it's like beep, and then you can always turn your beep in, and you get this one sound that is unique. There's only one of it. So you can always, or you can just send your beeps around to each other, just like a currency. But you could always turn your beep coin in, and you get your own unique beep. But I was trying to figure out how I could do that. If I had Ethereum, I could do that automatically. So as soon as you sent the message, I could make a smart contract. It wouldn't be incredibly complicated, where the sound would be sent to the person automatically when they bought some, or when they burned it, for example. So basically it's just like a currency, and when you send it to the burn address X, then I don't know if I should call it a burn address. You send it to the address X, then in return you get a link to where this sound is somewhere on the net. And then that there's only one of each sound. Each sound is totally unique, and embedded inside the sound is a code that proves that this sound is 100% unique. So it's just like an art project. That's all I wanted to use it for. You know what I mean? And I just thought of, but most of this stuff I'm going to have to do on my own. The only thing that Counterparty lets me do is just really easily, with like a few clicks, create the coins. You know what I mean? Create the tokens on the blockchain. That's what it lets you do, and that's
then all the programming you would need to do yourself. The programming.
Yeah, well, I mean, if I were to do it today, I would just.
And you would do it on Ethereum, you said?
No, I wouldn't do it on Ethereum, because we don't know how Ethereum works 100% yet. I mean, we have an idea. Right now, if I were to do it today, I would do it on Counterparty, and then if you could buy Beep, and then if you wanted to get your Beep, then you would send it to that address, and then I would I guess the address. I have to figure out a way. The address you sent it from, I would send like a Satoshi to that address, and then with the metadata that has the link to that sound file, and then you follow that link, and then you have your unique sound.
Right.
See what I mean?
I follow. Yeah, has anyone played with Ethereum? I've been meaning to for a while. I don't know what the hang-up was. I downloaded a client, or I went to the website to look for a client. I don't know why I stopped. But then, has anyone played with it?
I have the same experience that you had. I mean, I played with it about as much as I probably could have spent some more hours with it, but I spent as much time as I got to a point where I was like, okay, it's just not working now. I see the basic ideas from it. I watched some videos that showed, like introduction to the code or whatever, and it looks doable. I mean, you're going to have to learn the code. It does use a kind of its own language, but it's kind of like Esperanto, It's a language that everyone can kind of understand more or less. Do you know what Esperanto is?
Yes.
So it's an artificial language that nobody speaks. So it's not one language, but that's a kind of clever idea, I think, to make a programming language that's similar to the idea of Esperanto, and they made it relatively simple so that it's not so complicated. I mean, it still is code. I mean, you could get intimidated, but you don't have to make a really complicated contract. So I think for a lot of functions that are going to happen on Ethereum, you're not going to have really complicated lines of code, but you could have really complicated ones from what I understand. But this is all theoretical in the future, and we don't know how that is going to work. But it has a big potential, and I think everybody is waiting, or not everybody, I think a lot of people are waiting for it to happen. But I mean, it's a really interesting, because it's made for the purpose. So Bitcoin isn't made for the purpose of sharing the metadata, and Ethereum is made solely for the purpose of these contracts and so on. Right. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah,
I mean, it allows everyone to have the protection of justice, because the whole world will come together the same way they have around these other open source projects, and they will agree unanimously on, eventually it will be worked out how these contracts should be constructed. So you're going to have open source law. because one of the ways powerful institutions have exercised their dominance in the past is by the difference in knowledge. If somebody doesn't know their rights as a worker, it's very easy to abuse their rights because they don't know what they can do. But when everyone has an equal playing field to all of the rules of the game, if you can walk into a situation and you've got the same availability to the legal system that everyone else does, that completely disrupts and democratizes the global economy.
Hey Theo,
Definitely. Yeah.
what day is your show?
I don't have a set day yet. I just do whatever I want.
Oh well.
Me too.
I mean, sometimes I just go. I did it like 2 or 3 times. I just made a hangout and I just sent out a tweet. Okay, who wants to join?
It's the new way of doing things, actually, Derek. I tell people to set their watch by me. So don't listen to the cesium standard anymore. Don't listen to the pips of the talking clock. That's a lie. It's always been a lie. Any astronomer can tell you there are not 24 hours in the day. You need to set your watch by me now. Every time I do a show, set your watch.
For example,
That's the beginning. Oh, it's the end of the Chris week. He's doing a show. It's the end of the Chris week, everyone.
sure, it's a different way to set time. You know, it's a different way to set time. No, I don't have an exact concept for a show, but maybe that's a good idea. I mean, I just did like 2 or 3 hangouts that I just invited people to. I guess that's a show.
ExplainBitcoin.com, isn't that your website?
That is my website. ExplainBitcoin.com is my website.
That's a show right there. I mean, that's what we've been talking about for like the first hour of the show, right?
Yeah, I mean, I did. Yeah, well, kind of. I tried to. I mean, it still needs a lot of work. You know what I mean? But what I did is I just made a list. I tried to make it pretty. I have a list of questions that a lot of people ask and a lot of vocabulary words. I mean, I thought of it also like as a real like simple way, like even just vocabulary words, because people don't even know what the hell it is. Like you said, you were like, Theo, I understood everything until you said bootstrap. You know, it's like, what the hell is that? Because you talk to normal people and you're like, oh yeah, I got my client on the wallet and the blockchain, and it's like, what the hell are these people talking about? Nobody knows what the hell that is. You have to break it down in a really, really easy level. So it's just like, so let's see, we can go over there. And I wrote, I mean, I'm open to correction. Maybe some of the stuff I wrote on Explain Bitcoin isn't exactly right.
Do a screen share for us, or maybe I'll just pull it up.
Yeah, well, first or you can pull it up, but what did I? And I wanted to give like for some of the questions, a 1 or 2 sentence answer, and that's it, and not go into really technical stuff, which could be debatable if that's good or not. But I thought, first of all, let's go really simple, like if I was talking to you. So I have like public private key. Public key is your address, a set of numbers or QR code. So I just like a public key. Public key is kind of like your bank account number. Private key is similar to your code to online banking. Not exactly, but I'll show you later.
This is really good.
And then I said, okay, and then we went down to what is the blockchain? And we blockchain, a public ledger, a record of all the Bitcoin transactions ever is the basic. And then I made a little YouTube video where you can like watch the blockchain live, because I always think it's really funny on blockchain info where you can like watch the transactions. I always think that's really, really cool. I don't know why. I mean, it's kind of nerdy, but it's kind of cool.
I like that. I like what they've done with Listen to Bitcoin, which is almost the
I really like that. I love that. That's great. Hey, that reminds me. I thought of I haven't tried it yet, but I thought of a drinking game. So Fiat Leak, the website.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Fiat
what you can do. Yes,
every time China bans Bitcoin, you have to drink.
Exactly. Yeah. So what it is on Fiat Leak, you can set, I forgot exactly what it is, so there's a bell that goes off. So it's like when there's like 50 Bitcoins in 1 second sent somewhere, a bell goes off. But you can adjust it to like 5, 10, or 1, I think, yeah? And so every time, so it depends on how drunk you want to get, but I mean, you could just start off with 10, and every time that bell rings, everyone in the room has to take a drink. And you just put that, but you need to have it like on a PA system, so it's like really loud. So everyone at the whole meetup has to drink or the whole event has to drink every time that bell rings, you know? Because it's just based on, you've got the screen share for Fiat Leak, right?
Yeah, I've got it
Somebody
live
does.
right now, but for some reason there are 0 Bitcoin transactions. That can't be right.
Yeah, see, play a sound when, what is it now? What does it say? Play it,
Play
go back
sound
up.
20 Bitcoin per second or higher.
Yeah, we'll just put it on 1. Then you get a lot of dings, you know?
Okay. Well, I'm not getting any Bitcoins.
Maybe
Going
it's broken.
Oh yeah, it looks like it's not working right now or something. Yeah, but anyway, when it works, I mean, it has a potential. Or
Oh,
you
here.
could make your own app, but there's some going right now. Yeah, and then you would have to drink. Oh, you got to drink a lot now. If you put it on like, but if you put it on like 10 or
You're
something
gonna
like
get
that.
alcohol poisoning if you do this, everyone.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, but it was just an idea for a party or whatever, you know. You could just base it. Basically, not only can you use the blockchain for smart contracts, you can also use the blockchain to help,
To
you know,
get
get your
drunk.
party going. Yeah,
Ah,
right,
Yeah,
yeah.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah. You know, blockchain party, yeah, you know.
Actually,
Yeah.
that segues nicely into an idea that I had the other day, and I put it up on Twitter. I said we should all have our own blockchain weddings. That after I did that multisig in Armory with PyRebel, I put my public key on display, and nobody sent me a lockbox. Look, I put it there. I mean, I didn't show it to the whole internet. And this is not publicly. This is not. Sorry, this is not private information. This is my public key in hexadecimal format. And if you're running a full node at home and you can install the latest version of Armory, you can take my public key, put it into a lockbox, like a 2 of 2, and then send me the lockbox in an email, and then we're paired up. And then we both then get a joint Bitcoin account, which we can then display to the whole world, and we can say, look, you know, let's say Derek and Chris co-own this Bitcoin wallet. This is hard baked into the blockchain. Anyone who sends money to this address can only be sent if Chris and Derek agree on what it should be spent on. I think that's a really good idea. I think you could start getting people to pair up as a little sort of social experiment, a little bit of fun as well. Like, let's see what Chris and Derek can agree that money should be spent on. And then you could then, and then Theo could do it with Tom, and I could do it with Tom, and we could overlap it. We could do 2 out of 3. We could do 6 out of 7. We could just, like, why not? I mean, it's fun, though, and also it encourages people to run full nodes on their computer. Actually, the only person that needs to run a full node is the one that broadcasts it. So, in fact, even if you don't have a lot of hard drive space, you can still download the Armory wallet, and you can still generate your own multisig address. It's just you won't be the one to publish it to the blockchain, but you're still just as powerful, just as, you know, much control over your address as anyone else does.
So we're running out of time. It is 6 o'clock here on the East Coast. I want to thank all my guests, and I hope that you will plug your websites and your names one more time before we sign off. Starting with Mr. Chris Ellis.
I'm Mr. Chris Ellis on Twitter. You can find me there.
David.
Okay, I'm at David Gilson, that's 1L on Twitter, and you can get my website and contact form at davidgilson.co.uk, and search for David Gilson all over, and as long as you're not on the page of a French artist by the same name, you've got me.
Theo?
Okay. Yeah, you can check out explainbitcoin.com, and on Twitter, I'm Bitcoin Potato.
And Thomas.
Check out madbitcoins.com. We'll be going to the Tatiana Moreau show this Saturday in San Francisco.
Cool. I want to see how that goes. And I'm Derek J. You can find me on Twitter at DerekJMe. And I do another podcast called Peace News Now. Check that out at peacenewsnow.com. Hey, and until next Wednesday, keep your Bitcoin safe and watch this episode on a loop while you sleep. Peace.